What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another edition of the evolution of Sports Talk Television on a happy
Hump Day
edition of the Sports Web. I'm your host, Peter Blake. How do we start off this show? As you know them, you love them, you got to have them on a Monday, a Wednesday night, before USF games, after USF games, before Bucs games, after Bucs games. Bring your passion, bring your excitement. Just don't bring any nonsense. On tonight's show, we'll have the legend himself, Mr. Leo Haggerty, former coach, scout, and now media member of Night Sports Productions and Amped Up Sports. We will have Jason Powers on Sports Podcast, Spectrum Sports 360, Mr. Superstar himself, talking about what else? Tampa Bay versus the Detroit Lions on Sunday, just a couple of days away. Also recap the Bucs' big-time win over the Washington Commanders. We'll have Harry the Greek, professional handicapper extraordinaire. We're supposed to have Best of the Bay, Tampa Bay, Ray Kennedy on with us. And then, of course, Turnbuckle Talk at 10:30 as we talk WWE and AEW action. And once again, get you ready for Bucs versus the Lions. And as always, we take your phone calls because it is football season, because football is back.
It's exciting!
It is exciting, Todd Bowles. 727-255-0391 at 727-255-0391. Whatever you want to talk about tonight when it comes to your Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Something's been put out there. The injury report, we'll talk about that, which is looks like it doesn't look like it's getting worse by the day. Not only are you going to be missing Antoine Winfield Jr., most likely for this game, along with 3 other corners. We'll see about Zion McCollum. He may come back, so it may be 2 corners. But also Luke Haggerty is also on concussion protocol, which isn't important. I mean, every position is important, but this one would definitely hurt because the way the right tackle played last Sunday, and then on top of it, he's going to have to face Aiden Hutchinson. So you want your offensive line intact because the Lions can definitely get after it, and you got to protect Baker Mayfield. At the end of the day, who's going to be your right tackle if he can't go? Hopefully he can go. Other injuries on this limited today. KJ Britt with an illness. William Golston with an elbow. We mentioned Haggerty. Logan Hall also limited, and Zion McCollum concussion. Did not practice. Of course, Josh Hayes, ankle. Kalijah Cansey, calf. And Antoine Winfield Jr., of course, with the ankle injury. So there you go. Let's go ahead and go out to the comments really quick. First, as usual, appreciate you, Tribal Troll.
Acknowledge me.
Let's go out to Roger again. Dynamite is on. Hurry up. We shall. Christopher Cole. Hey, Pete and Peeps. Absolutely.
Ooh, yeah.
Let's go out to Eric. Hey, Peter Blake. Hey, buddy. What's up? Let's go out to Christopher Cole again. Roger, the Cubs are on fire, but it's just a little too late. Trevor Miller, football is back, baby. Absolutely is.
Ooh, yeah.
Which means the sports web is back. But we've been here, all year long. Some Mondays I take off because I got to work extra. I got to do Uber and other things, most likely Uber. But now it's football season. So Monday and Wednesdays, as many times as we can get on, Trevor. So appreciate it as always. And everyone is talking about Isaac, but Bowles really likes Funderburk, of course. And Trevor, again, offense needs to pick up the slack. Defense is really injured coming into this game. Absolutely it is. There was also another story that I want to get Bucs fans' opinion on. Kyle Brandt of NFL Network says that Mike Evans is the greatest Tampa Bay Buccaneer of all time. Now, I've been talking about this the last couple months, saying, could he be the greatest Buccaneer of all time? Not only because of the consistency with not playing with a consistent quarterback, if you will, like a Tom Brady. Baker Mayfield's pretty good, but the other quarterbacks, nothing to write home about. It's the level of consistency for Evans. It's the fact that he does it in a professional manner. It's the fact that he's able to restructure his contracts. It's the fact that he's going to pass Jerry Rice if he does get that 1,000 yards this year, ties him, and then surpasses him the year afterwards. He's a first ballot Hall of Famer, but could he be the greatest Buck of all time? Open phone line, 727-255-0391 at 727-255-0391. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get our guest on. Let's go out to the legend himself. Here we go. Former coach, scout, and now media member of Night Sports Productions and Amped Up Sports. And once again, really quick, I don't want to forget this, thesportsweb.live. And also like and subscribe to all the podcasts on Apple, Spotify, Amazon, wherever you get your podcast. If you don't want to see my mug at this point, because people say, well, he's got a face for radio. Well, there you go. We just solved that problem for you by giving you an opportunity to go and subscribe to those podcasts. So without further ado, I was going to go out to him. I don't know what's going on. I was going to go out to Jason Powers. Powers, are you there?
I am here. Let me figure out why can you not see me?
I have no idea, my friend. So we definitely have some tech issues going on right now. That's what happens when you got live people here. But we will definitely get it taken care of here. Hold on a sec. That's not what I want to do. Stand by. There we go. That's what I want to do. All right. So we are awaiting Leo to come on. Leo, are you there?
I'm here. I'm just trying to figure it out.
Okay, you're in the dark too. So, okay, there he is. He is on. Jason, we see a wall there, so we definitely don't want to talk to a wall. Although, going about talking to a wall, because you know me, I'm always a guy that likes to tell you about my life story, even if you don't want to hear it. It was like talking to a wall today on the sales end of my job. They are trying to sell life and Medicare insurance. So it's always a good thing here to be on the sports web, to take your mind off of what's going on in your life and what's going on in my life. With that being said, let's get out to it. Enough with the intros. Mr. Leo Haggerty, Mr. Jason Powers, the superstar himself, Spectrum Sports 360, Powers on Sports podcast. Guys, welcome to the sports web here on a happy hump day edition. How you doing?
Leo, how you doing, sir?
Peter.
What's up now?
How you doing, Leo?
I'm doing fine, guys. How about you?
We're doing great. We're doing great. All the pleasantries are out of the way at this point. So let's get to it. Let's talk about it. The Bucs get a big time win over the Commanders, 37-20 on Sunday. Leo, your thoughts? Big time win there. Look good on offense, but it cost them, especially with Antoine Winfield going down and a couple other corners.
Yeah, it may be a Pirate victory. It may cost them down the road. It probably will cost them up in Detroit if they can't get these guys back.
Right.
But the Lions are pretty good. We just said the fact that we have to say that and listen to that the Lions are pretty good. Yeah, they are. I mean, Dan Campbell is creating a beast up there. That's for sure.
Definitely a beast, and goes back to the scene of the crime last year. Jason Powers, where a couple plays away, the Bucs are in the NFC Championship game, but they're not able to get it done. And unfortunately, they're going to come into this game shorthanded. But first and foremost, give me your thoughts on that win at Raymond James Stadium last Sunday.
Tremendous. Again, for the Bucs to come out as crisp as solid offensively, especially as they did, I think it's a credit to everybody. I think personally that was the best game Baker Mayfield ever played in his career, based on just knowing where to go with the ball, no hesitation, scrambling ability, his accuracy. Thought it was the best game of his career. Forget about it, just with Tampa in his NFL career.
Well, I think you could definitely say Green Bay last year with that perfect quarterback rating. But let me go to you, coach here, former coach, Mr. Leo Haggerty of Amped Up Sports. Was that the best game you've seen Baker Mayfield play?
It was one of the best. I still think the best is when he went in and just took apart the Steelers in Three Rivers and in that playoff game. That was a thing of beauty. But I'll tell you what, it was definitely top 2 or 3. He was on fire, and I'll tell you what, he got Mike Evans involved early and often. That was huge, because now the Commanders know, all right, he's going with number 13. Now we got to try to take 13 away. Well, guess what? Now Godwin and McMillan become open targets.
Well, they do. They absolutely do. And you talk about Mike Evans, getting him involved in last game. And, of course, in this game coming up, you go back to the divisional playoff, over 100 yards. I mean, that's it. Your game plan, is that your matchup that you're looking forward to on offense with Mike Evans versus our former buddy there, Carlton Davis?
I would say here's something I loved in the game Sunday. We got Chris Godwin back in his natural spot in the slot. And boy, you saw he destroyed that Washington defense on third down. You can see he's a trusted outlet for Mayfield on those 3rd and 4, 3rd and 5s. I think that's where Chris Godwin's at his best. And I think Jalen McMillan is going to be the recipient of a lot of this single coverage where he's going to get lost in these defenses, and he could potentially have a monster year as the third receiver.
Yeah, Leo, you talk about Evans versus Carlton Davis, and Jason's right. I mean, 8 catches for 83 yards on 8 targets by Chris Godwin. It certainly seems like 2 years removed from that knee injury, that he could be all the way back.
Yeah, he could be. And I'll tell you what's scary if I'm a defensive coordinator. If all of a sudden I see the Bucs come out of the huddle and they got a trips formation to one side, they got McMillan out there, they've got Godwin in the slot, and then they got White in there as that third receiver, and then here's Mike Evans on the other side, all alone. You cannot double with a trips away from you. You can't. You can try to bracket, but you're out of bodies. So if Baker Mayfield has time and he can figure out the coverage, I'll tell you what, the Bucs are going to put a lot of defensive coordinators in some very uncomfortable positions just by formations. And we saw a little bit of what Liam Cohen wants to do. Hey, it looks like the Rockettes before they snap the ball. They're moving all over the place.
They are moving all over the place. And let me go out to the comments here, because I definitely want to read that. Offense needs to pick up the slack. Defense is really injured. Going back to that comment, in your opinion here, Leo, does this become an offensive shootout because of the plethora of injuries, namely an Antoine Winfield Jr. in that back end?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the Bucs got to go in there planning to get 30 points. Yeah, because their defense is probably going to give up 24-28. So yeah, it's going to be one of those games where you're going to have to score points to stay in, simply because you're playing with a lot of backups who haven't had a lot of playing time in the NFL right now.
Is that how you see it also, Jason Powers, an offensive shootout, or could it surprise us where it becomes defensive and, Todd Bowles is able to shut this Lions offense down, or both of these defenses are able to shut the other offense down?
Here's what I would say. If you watch the Rams game, which obviously we know Liam Cohen is a disciple of the Rams, on Sunday, they had a lot of long drives, a lot of short passes. Kupp had a ton of receptions, 8-10-yard catches. I could see the Bucs having to rely on long sustaining drives to shorten the game to keep the defense off the field. So I could see it going, but I'm with Leo. I think you're going to have to score minimum 24, but you could potentially do that by long extenuated drives. I think that's a way that again, use the play clock, short passing game. Detroit's not great. They gave up a ton of yards. They're still not great in the secondary. There are going to be some holes in that offense. It's just a matter of how much do you want to expose your defense. Maybe you try to shorten the game a little bit by some longer drives.
You know what, Jason? I couldn't agree with you more. The Bucs want to play the first half just to get to the second half. They want to make sure they're within a touchdown or they have a touchdown lead. If they go in and it's a 7-point game, either way, win Buccaneers, because now they can come out in that last 30 minutes and do what they need to do. But if you go back to the game they lost here in the regular season, what Detroit did was they made the Bucs one-dimensional. They took the run right out of the game. And by taking the run out of the game, what does that do? It takes the play-action pass away from Baker. Right. And that's what he does so well.
All right, let's go back out to the comments here. Trevor killing it tonight with some comments. Mike Evans, the king of Tampa Bay. I want to talk about that, and then we'll get back to this matchup. Kyle Brandt came out today and said that in his opinion, Mike Evans is the greatest Buccaneer of all time, period, because he's going to be a first ballot Hall of Famer for the consistency factor. Now, I kind of talked about this a couple months ago and said the reason why I thought he was the greatest of all time, or could be the greatest of all time, because the level of consistency, never having a great quarterback besides maybe Brady and now Mayfield, definitely showing something there. But overall, the consistency factor, being able to not only tie Jerry Rice, but surpass Jerry Rice, already winning a Super Bowl, and being able to restructure his contracts to help the organization out. You don't see a lot of superstar players do that. And then furthermore, Evans being a true professional on and off the field. What do you say, Leo?
No, and only because he's 1A.
Okay.
Leroy Selman is going to be 1 no matter what. Think about this now. He took a brand new franchise and they got to the NFC final game. I can remember Galen Hall. Up in Wisconsin, we ran a wishbone summer camp for coaches, clinics.
Right.
And Galen Hall happened to be the offensive coordinator before he came to Florida as the head coach at Oklahoma. And he brought some film up. He said, this one guy here, we haven't been able to block him in 3 years. Guess who it was? Leroy Selman.
Right. Right. And you're exactly right. A lot of people always talk about the first 2 years of the Bucs' existence, but what they fail to realize here, Jason Powers, is at the time, the Bucs were also the fastest expansion team to make the playoffs. And of course, Leo mentions the 1979 NFC Championship game. For you, is it Mike Evans, the greatest Buck of all time? Is it too soon? Can we start talking about that? What do you say?
I'm going to say 1C. I'm going to put him one notch below Leroy, and I'm going to put in the B slot Derek Brooks.
Very good.
Longevity. I mean, 14, 15 years that he played, Pro Bowler, how many times, All Pro, how many times. Mike Evans is the best offensive player the Bucs have ever had. No doubt about that. But I'd put him at 1C for right now. That could change. But for today, I'd put him at 1C. You can argue Leroy or Derek Brooks, 1A or 1B, but I'd put Evans at 1C, and that's a hell of an accomplishment. Best offensive player in Buck history.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'll go to you, Leo. Why doesn't Evans get more respect? Because we always hear about Jefferson. We hear about these other wide receivers. We've heard about the other wide receivers in the past. Is it because he is so quiet, because he is not a diva, and because for so many years the Bucs lost so many games, but still Evans being the consistent factor of putting those numbers together?
You know what, Peter? I think what's happening now with the media, because of the 17 games, and you divide 1,000 by 17, you only need 55, 60 yards a game. It's not like before when you only had 12, 14 games when, Jerry Rice was doing it. But you know what? It's still an accomplishment because you got to get up there and you got to – your best availability is your availability. And all alone,
Yes, no, absolutely. And you're absolutely correct about that. It is about availability. And, Evans has had some injury stuff, but lately has been very consistent. And of course, been the focal point of this offense. With that being said, these rookies, we kind of talked about them, guys, in the preseason and the training camp. We weren't sure what to think, but now we kind of see some of the stuff transpire here on the field with Jalen McMillan. First catch, could have had a couple touchdowns there. If he catches one, Baker misses him on one. Could have actually had 4 touchdowns by J.P. Peterson's count, but gets one catch for 32 yards for a touchdown. And then Bucky Irving, 9 carries for 62 yards, which propels that Bucs team to over 100 yards of rushing. So with that being said, Leo, what are your thoughts on these rookies this year?
Peter, when they drafted McMillan, I was ecstatic. Because you remember, I told everyone, watch the Texas game. Because, Michael Penix had a great game, but so did Jalen McMillan. He was like unstoppable. And he caught that one pass against Texas for the touchdown. Phenomenal. He brings to the Bucs length, and that's huge. Having a guy like Evans at 6'5". Now you got another guy somewhere between 6'2" and 6'3". And you got Godwin, who's no slouch either. He's 6'1", 6'2". They've got the ability to give Baker Mayfield some major targets. And, pick your poison. If you double Evans, now you got to deal with Godwin and McMillan. Yeah. And I think the Bucs, they had a couple guys who they were looking at as a third wide receiver, but I really think when they drafted McMillan, they were hoping he would take that job, which he has done.
Yeah, he's definitely taken the job. And you talk about Irving here, 9 carries for 62 yards. A lot of people, I know my professional handicapper extraordinaire, Jason, Mr. Harry the Greek, doesn't think that Irving is an every down back, and maybe he doesn't have to be because you already have White, but he was catching balls out of the backfield. He didn't do as well as Irving. Irving showed me something, and I think he showed a lot of fans something, especially when they were, chanting his name. What were your thoughts on Irving's performance on Sunday?
I'm going to give you a quick comp on Jalen McMillan, who I think is a very comparable guy that's had a great NFL career. Keenan Allen, good route runner. He's not a burner, but a great route runner, good hands, And I just think Keenan Allen and McMillan are going to be a very good comparison of a guy that's going to be, because there's questions about whether Godwin's back next year and all that, and obviously Evans aging. He's going to be a perfect guy to fit into that number 2 wide receiver role, maybe even number 1, but probably a number 2 is where he'll be. But to your comment on Bucky Irving, again, I think it's going to be a great match with he and White. It's going to be a perfect complementary system. One thing I love that Irving can do, and he did it in college, he can run between the tackles. He's not afraid to stick his head in there to get that 3 or 4 yard gain. Not afraid to block people, and he's, again, between the tackles runners. White's still the guy, but he's going to be a perfect complement to Rachaad White.
Yeah, I definitely think so too. And look, you need 2 running backs these days in the NFL.
For sure.
We're on with the legend himself, Mr. Leo Haggerty. We got Jason Powers on Sports Podcast, Spectrum 360 Sports. I'm your host, Peter Blake, here on the Evolution. It's the Sports Web once again.
Can I give you a little nugget, guys? Can I give you a little nugget?
Give me something here.
Leo, you mentioned 1979. Guess who I just got done interviewing who's going to be on my Powers on Sports podcast that comes out tomorrow morning? You're going to love this, guys. Both of you will love this.
Jimmy Giles.
No, even better than that, I think.
Doug Williams.
Wow.
Mark Champion.
No way. Really?
Wow. I just got off the interviewing Mark Champion from up in Detroit. We reminisced some 1979 Detroit Lions and he's telling some great stories about the Buccaneers. Mark Champion will be on the Powers on Sports podcast coming out tomorrow morning.
And then, of course, he was the first announcer before Gene Deckerhoff, and it seems like Deckerhoff.
He wasn't the first. You know who he took over for? He took over for after 1978? You'll know this name.
Okay.
Dick Crippen.
Dick Crippen.
He did take over for Dick Crippen. You're exactly right about that. Wow.
Yep.
I got a funny story about this.
Go for it.
I was coaching at Newberry College, football and basketball in 79. We came down to Tampa. We played Clearwater Christian, and then we played Rollins down in
Orlando.
But we happened to stay in Tampa back at USF because they had this team room upstairs and no one was playing that week. And the head coach, Larry DiBiase, and I knew the coach at USF at the time from our Notre Dame camps, and we stayed there. But we were down the week that they were going to play the Rams. This town was electric.
Really?
That week. It was crazy. Just we would go out at night after a game or whatever, and just there was so much orange in this town. You thought you were watching a Netherlands soccer game.
Wow.
Mark tells a great story about that too, about that week, because I asked him about that title game, and he tells a great story about it. And you know how he got to the Detroit Lions? You know what his connection was to the Detroit Lions?
No.
Wayne Fonts.
Oh,
well, Wayne Fonts, guys, was the defensive coordinator back then. And who was the offensive coordinator for that Buccaneer team?
Joe Gibbs. No, not the 79 team, I don't think. Was it 79? Was he the OC? I don't think he was in 79.
We have to look that up, but I'm pretty
Gibbs was earlier, maybe 77.
Yep. When I first came to Tampa and I was coaching at Leto High School, his son Mike was our defensive coordinator.
He was my defensive backs coach when I played at Leto, Mike Fonts. Absolutely.
Yep.
How about that?
Guys.
Now, when did you play at Leto?
I finished in 91.
Okay. Yeah, I was there in
you were there. You were coaching. You were coaching. Oh yeah, I remember Coach Leo.
Yep. Back in Alex Albert took over.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was crazy. But
Mike Fonts was the DB coach, baby.
But yeah, I got to go back to 79 because there was this one hot bar back then called Robacani's.
Yes.
And the Buccaneer cheerleaders came out every night. And I mean, you talk about people just going crazy. When they come out like at 11 o'clock at night and come out and go, oh, God, this town. If this town wins and they go to the Super Bowl, it's going to be just bombastic.
Wow, listen to you with the SAT word. And Gibbs did coach here from coach at 78, then went with Air Coryell in 79. But Wayne Fonts was here as a defensive coordinator. So, and then, of course, he ended up coaching the Detroit Lions. And he beat the Bucs a couple of times there with Barry Sanders.
Remember the famous David Logan fumble return for a touchdown in the Silverdome to win the division title, I think in 81?
I do remember that. I remember hearing Dave talk about that on air with Gene at the time, which is crazy that Dave is gone. But that was a great crew that they had back then. With that being said, everybody was talking about the Atlanta Falcons, including you, Mr. Leo Haggerty. From what you saw on Sunday, are you as optimistic as you were at the beginning of the year with Kirk Cousins and the mobility issues? And then on top of it, as I said on this show, you could have drafted an offensive lineman in that top 10. Instead, you got a quarterback of the future. You may have to play that quarterback eventually.
Yeah, it may happen. But again, look at the two guys we were concerned about, Aaron Rodgers and Kirk Cousins. And both of them didn't have really good starts because you just don't come back from that kind of injury and come back 100%.
Right.
You can see them. And the biggest thing people have to do when you look at the NFL, did the team win or did the other team lose? Perfect example, the Chicago Bears. Did the Bears win? Hell no. The Titans lost that game.
Right.
They gave it away. Jacksonville, same thing. Etienne going in to score, fumbles on the goal line. Cincinnati, twice going in, fumble on the goal line. Yeah, they gave it away. And that's what you got to look at. Say, okay, the Bucs won. No doubt about it. New Orleans won. No doubt about it. But when you look at what's going on, you got to determine, okay, did we win or did they lose? And that's the thing. Detroit, they end up beating the Rams. And I'll tell you what, my surprise teams, both of them are from Los Angeles, the Rams and the Chargers.
Yeah.
I think they're both going to end up in the playoffs.
And I really don't think that's a stretch because you look at what Jim Harbaugh's been able to do everywhere he's gone. When it comes to the NFL, he's won. I think he'll definitely be able to turn not only Justin Herbert around, but that whole team around with just good coaching. And then on top of it, you have the Rams there. Matt Stafford is healthy. If he's healthy, they have the weapons there to a certain degree. Cooper Kupp, over 20 targets, 10 catches. So they looked okay also.
But a ton of injuries in L.A. Puka Nacua, they lost a couple of linemen. They've got a lot of major injury issues after that first week. And to your point on Cousins in Atlanta, be careful. I mean, again, I don't love them, but they did play a top 2 or 3 defense in the whole league in Pittsburgh. So same with the Jets. They played San Francisco, tremendous defenses there. So, again, I don't think Atlanta's going to be as bad as they looked. But I'm with you. I'm with Leo. That Achilles injury, you just don't come back and aren't hitting on full cylinders on the first week. So, but again, going to Philadelphia Monday night is going to also be a rough test for them as well.
And they got Kansas City.
Jason, I want to ask you a question because this is my thoughts. Can you win the Super Bowl the first 4 games of the season? No. Can you lose it? Yes.
Yep, I agree.
Two things. I don't think you're going to see a lot of 4-0 teams come out of September because the schedule is so rough. You're only allowed 20 padded practices.
Right.
The defenses don't tackle well, and the offenses are not used to going into the second half yet. This is basically teams going, okay, if we can go 3-1, 2-2, that's fine. If you go 1-3 or 0-4, you're coming out of September and having to go 10-3.
Yeah.
Just to be in the conversation for the playoffs.
0-4 and you're done. 0-4 and you're done. You're not coming back from 0-4. You got to be. I mean, 1-3 is doable, but it's much more pressurized. But you're right. 2-2 is where you want to be. 3-1's great. Again, there might be one team in the league that goes 4-0. Who knows? Depending on the schedules. But yeah, 2-2, 3-1 is where you want to be at that first quarter mark.
And guys, I tell you right now, it gets no easier for the Atlanta Falcons because they do face the Eagles, and then after that, they face the Chiefs. If they go 0-3 at that point, do you consider moving to a Michael Penix as the quarterback? No panic at 0-3?
No.
Okay.
But again, look at who the 0-3 is. I mean, they're going to Philadelphia. That's the toughest place to play. I think they got to go to Kansas City too, don't they, Peter?
I believe so. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's not like they're losing to Carolina. Let's be honest here.
Right.
You never want to play the Steelers because that 3-4 drives you crazy. You just don't see it as often as you need to be prepared for it. 0-3. It's a tough start.
Right.
But then you got to win week 4. You got to win week 4. Now, Peter, if they're 0-4, now it may be a time to turn to Michael Penix, but not at 0-2 or 0-3 yet.
The spot you could see Penix, remember this date. Remember the Bucs play the Falcons in week 5 on a Thursday night. If the Bucs were to beat them on that Thursday night, you got 10 days to get ready. If they're 1-4 or 0-5, that's where I think you could put Penix in week 6 because you got 10 days to get them ready. I don't think they're going to put him in on a short week going into week 5. But if they're 1-4, 0-5, that's the spot if the Bucs beat them on that Thursday night.
And that Thursday night, of course, is October 3rd, my birthday. Right. So I will be here live, hopefully broadcasting a Bucs victory. All right, let's go back out to the comments, and then we'll get out to Ryan Neal with our college football segment here on the Evolution. I hate to admit it, but Detroit has an awesome football team. Game On says these injuries need to stop, Peter, especially now that we go through this difficult stretch of our schedule. I hope the offense can carry the team while taking a lot of time off the clock. Space Windu says, let's go, buddy. Let's go! Let's go out to Trevor again. The young guys did great last Sunday, absolutely. And Christopher Cole says, people saying that Mock missed a lot of blocks, but it looked like a design play because he did a swim move, passed, and turned and picked him up. That offensive line, I thought, was definitely improved, was one of the most impressive aspects of this team, and I'm expecting that with Graham Barton. Really quick, Leo, I know we're going to get on to our college football segment, and Jason will get you out of here on this. That offensive line, what did you see with Graham Barton on Sunday, Leo?
Everything is advertised. He was the recipient of one of the strangest calls I ever saw. When they called down from the press box and said, no, he wasn't downfield.
Right.
I've never seen that before. Where they called down and told the referee, no, you were wrong. Okay.
But it was the right call.
Definitely the right call. Yeah. He was definitely. And again, what people need to understand, in college, when you run that RPO, the lineman can go 3 yards down the field. In the NFL, it's 1 yard.
Right.
And boy, they are sticklers with that. You better be within that 1 yard when that ball's released. So the RPOs in the NFL got to come out quick. Graham Barton, it was funny because Tristan Wirfs got charged with a sack. And the only reason he got charged with the sack is he ran the end around the outside and Baker tried to go out that way. And Baker basically ran into him.
He held the ball. He held the ball way too long, too. Held the ball way too long on that.
That was a forever. Yeah.
Let me go out to you, Jason. Have you changed your mind about Baker Mayfield?
Again, I want to see him do it 2 years in a row. I think, again, I love the offense. Here, again, I didn't think the offense would be so on top of things in week 1. That's what he can be effective if this offense, if the play caller is doing, again, I'm so impressed with the play calling, with the shifts and the motions. That's what I love. Again, I want Baker to be great, but I got to see it for 2 years. I can't see it on one. It can't be a 1 year, it can't be a 1 year recipe here. I got to see 2 years, but a great start. And again, I want him to be good, but let's keep it up. Keep it up. Definitely. This is the game. This is the game Sunday. Again, you're down on the defensive side of things. Can he win this kind of game on the road? This will give me a ton of confidence in him. Even if they don't win, if they play him to the wire like they did last year, that's what I want to see.
Yeah, and he did have a big critical turnover to end the game, Baker Mayfield, but he did have a couple touchdowns versus the Lions in that divisional playoff. Of course, the Bucs lost that game. Jason Powers, Powers on Sports Podcast. And by the way, Baker Mayfield, FedEx Player of the Week, 24 for 30, 289 yards, 4 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. Jason, go ahead and promote yourself here on the Evolution.
I will. Let me ask Coach Leo one question about the DBs. I think a key guy in this game is going to be Izzian. The guy can play the nickel, play some safety. Do you think they bring up Thunderbreck, or what do you think they do in the secondary, Leo?
Oh, I definitely think they bring up Thunderbreck, but yeah, you're right. The biggest thing is Izzian gives them mobility and flexibility. He can play pretty much 3 of the 4 defensive back spots. Right. Probably can play 4 in a stretch. But I'll tell you what, I got a feeling they're going to overextend the number of DBs they have active for Sunday, because they saw what happened when they went down. They were almost stuck with playing a linebacker back there, or just playing it too deep and basically playing with 4 linebackers. So, yeah, I think that's going to be huge. I think
Tyke Smith.
Maybe 2 DBs.
Tyke Smith is going to be a major factor Sunday, too. We're going to see if he, Bowles has been praising him about how much he's picked up the defense. We're going to see if he can fill in for Winfield.
Yeah, and that's the guy right there. And I asked him, and I'll put this out there on Facebook and all the social media platforms, in training camp, who did he emulate his game by? And he said Antoine Winfield Jr. and Budda Baker. Not bad, my friend, for a rookie coming in. And he even mentioned that the coach Rapono asked him that question in the draft process. Jason Powers, appreciate the time as always, man. Don't be a stranger. In fact, we're going to start getting you on here Monday. I think Mondays or Wednesdays, whenever we can get you on here and talk some Bucs football. All right.
Let me give you a quick plug. I had your guy, JP Peterson, on the Florida Football Insiders podcast this week, too. We talked a lot of FSU, Florida, all the drama going on in those 2 programs. So check out the Florida Football Insiders, all your college football in the state of Florida. We even talk a little Bucks, Jaguars, and Dolphins, too. Your guy, JP Peterson, is the guest this week.
There you go. JP Peterson of the JP Peterson Show, Monday and Friday from 10 a.m. to 12 noon here.
And Jason, if you ever need the left-hander to come in one night, let me know.
You're on the list, man. You are on the list. You will be summoned from the bullpen, no doubt.
All right, my tag team partner of the world, Spectrum Sports 360, Mr. Jason Powers. Appreciate your time here, my friend. All right?
You guys be good.
All right, sounds good right there. Let's go out to Mr. Ryan Neal. Ryan, thanks a lot for waiting. That was a great segment by Jason Powers, yours truly, along with Mr. Leo Haggerty.
Hey, Peter, can I interrupt you real quick?
Yes, go for it.
I got breaking news.
What's the breaking news?
Guess who's going to be in the press box for the UCLA-LSU game down in Baton Rouge in 2 weeks?
Let me guess here. Hold on. Let me do this.
This guy.
Yeah! Victory! That's what I'm talking about. Congratulations, man.
I'm super excited. Super excited.
So go ahead and talk about this a little bit. How long have you been working towards, getting credentialed and how are you feeling about this right now? Congratulations, my friend.
I'm feeling pretty good. I'm super excited. It was, I've been working with Amped Up Sports for about 6-7 months now. And I can say, or probably 8 months actually. And so that whole time, my whole goal was to get credentials into LSU. I got it for the Nichols game, but I said, you know what, let's wait for UCLA. Let me go to a pretty solid matchup here with the Big Ten and SEC football team. And I'm super excited to be there.
Are you able
to? Peter? He's also now a weekly guest on ESPN New Orleans radio.
Well, look at that, man. You're just killing it right now.
Moving up in the world.
Yes, moving on up. Absolutely. Definitely moving on up. And
Peter, you got to talk about his last trip on when he looked at Harry the Greek and said, who's this guy?
Who's this guy? Right. And that guy right now, Harry the Greek, is not on with us. So you have to ask, who is that guy? As he was talking about FSU, we were talking about LSU. So let's get on to it here and talk about LSU. What are we looking forward to seeing this week?
So it's college game days going to Columbia, South Carolina, where the South Carolina Gamecocks versus LSU. I can be honest. LSU fans are extremely pessimistic of this team right now. We played Nichols on Saturday. The game was 44-23 final score. Nichols, for the first half, controlled the game on offense. They kept the ball. They ran it down our throats. The second half, LSU's defense and offense stepped up and played great. But this is what I saw, like reverberations throughout the year. Brian Kelly's first year, the defense showed struggles. Second year, they were really bad. This year, it's starting to seem like that. And now we're going to one of the most underrated hostile environments in college football against a team who's 2-0, knows that if they beat this team, they're 3-0 and have a good chance on getting ranked soon or, doing really good in their season. And then LSU knows this game, if we lose it, the season, here we go again. Here we go again. A 10-2, 9-3 football team.
It goes back to what you talked about with Kelly, who was visibly frustrated, banging on the table there, how they couldn't finish. I mean, do you think they'll be able to finish off this year with some big-time wins in those critical situations? Do you have any confidence in this coaching staff, in this team, Ryan?
So with the defense, I have confidence for the defense in the future years. This is still a young team. This is still an entirely new defensive staff coming in, learning the players. We had some transfers and stuff, and they're getting to know the team. So this defense, I expect to get better as the year goes on. The offense, though, I only have one complaint. Passing game, 10 out of 10, it's perfect. It's great. It's awesome. Our offensive line hasn't even allowed one pressure on Nussmeier in 2 games, and that was against USC. He hasn't been sacked. It's been awesome. But now we're going up against this defensive line of South Carolina, which is top 3 in the nation in sacks and tackles for loss. Whoever wins the trenches in this game wins.
Yeah, I mean, it always goes back to that, Leo. It's all about the trenches, whoever wins offensively and defensively. You got a question for Mr. Credential himself for LSU, Ryan Neal?
Oh, absolutely. Ryan, when you look at LSU, we sat there and Peter and I listened to Brian Kelly lament about if he'd have just had an average defense last year, they'd have been undefeated. Where do you put this defense now on a scale of bad, average, good?
I'll give you a scale of 1 to 10. 1 being the worst thing you've ever seen, 10 being in Georgia's defense in 2021. I would say 4 or 5 right now. Okay. That's where I see it right now. Last year it was a 1 or 2.
Is it trending up or trending down, do you think?
It's trending up from last year. Last year was LSU's worst defense, I think, ever. I don't think we've since 2000, we have not had a defense anywhere like that. They were more likely to score than us stop them. It was literally like the percentage stat for like scores to stops. It was like 55% they scored most of the time. Like they had a greater chance of going down 99 yards than us stopping them, excuse me. But this year, they show some fight. The DBs actually get their hands in on deflections. The DBs are actually kind of strapped to them. The defensive line, it's getting pressure with the defensive end. But our biggest weakness right now is we're underutilizing Harold Perkins. 2 tackles per game in 2 games, and that's it. He's supposed to be a pass rusher. He's a Devin White. He rushes the passer. He tackles the runner. We're putting him back in pass coverage and expecting him to do that. They're just staying away from him. Rush him at the quarterback. That's what he needs to do. And I've heard from camp today that they're putting him at the star position, which I'm excited for.
All right, let's talk locally here with USF and Alabama. Did you watch that game, and how surprised were you, Ryan, that USF stayed in that game for 3 quarters?
USF Barstool was throwing out memes and jokes all week long, and it was so funny to watch the game for like that 3 quarters and be like, oh my God, if they, I was like hands on the knees, like back bent on the chair. I'm like ready to go. I'm like, let's go. Like, let's go Bulls. Like I'm locked in. And then, you felt that whenever a group of 5 team is fighting with a power 5 team and they're neck to neck in the 3rd quarter, that's when the athleticism of Alabama comes in, or one of these power 5 teams. And then they just, over time, they out depth chart them. They have more guys that can come in and keep the line healthy and stuff like that. And I think that's what kind of happened in the end. The final score does not show the game.
No, it definitely doesn't show the game, and that was probably one of the most disappointing aspects. Leo, I want to go back to it because it was a controversial decision to some Bulls fans. Are you okay with that decision by Coach Golish to go for that field goal? Or at that point, do you run with Brown? Do you take your chances and let your defense, try to pin the Crimson Tide back because they caused 3 fumbles in this game? Why not go for 4th down, try to get it? If you don't get it, put it on your defense.
I'm going to coach speak this, guys, okay? The fact that they were 2 of 18 on 3rd down. And I don't think any of those were makeable 3rd downs. They were all 3rd and long. They never had any 3rd and short. In fact, Coach Golish talked about it. He never had to go to a 3rd and short, 3rd and medium on his play sheet, on his hot sheet.
Yeah.
Again, I think this is what was going through my mind, and I'm thinking maybe went through his mind.
Sure.
If I kick the field goal and my defense holds them to a field goal, we're still 1 score.
Sure.
But if I go down and I cannot make that touchdown, and they get down and kick a field goal, now it's a 2-score game.
Yeah.
Now it becomes almost unwinnable. So if he'd had some success on 3rd down, or his quarterback was playing a little better. And, I asked Coach Gordon today, I said, look, you go into the indoor and Byron drops back and he throws a 40, 50-yard pass to a receiver against air. Nobody there.
Yeah.
That's not easy to do.
No.
And now all of a sudden you add a defensive back who's having hand-to-hand combat with him down the field. You're adding weather, which he doesn't have to deal with. It's not like you're throwing a 5-yard out. This is a very precise pass, and they were just a little off. And I think Coach Golish sat there and said, you know what? Let's get the field goal. Let's get this thing where, we'll have to still score again. But that way, if we give up a field goal, we're still in there. Because now if we give up a touchdown, man, now we got to score twice. That may be tough.
Yeah, that may be tough, and you're 2 for 20 on 3rd down. I think, again, that's the one thing I was looking for, Ryan, is Brown, as talented as he is, he has been inaccurate in those situations, and that's going to be the thing that takes him over the top, and wherever he goes, this is where this offense goes. So with that being said, are you surprised that Dion and Colorado struggled so badly versus Nebraska?
No, and I'm happy they did. So it's just, it's, a team that hypes themselves up all year after being 4-8. They had a terrible offensive line, and they expect that they're going to go get a couple transfer guys and a true freshman at left tackle and expect the team to be fixed with the offensive line. And you join the Big Ten. Good luck. And this Nebraska team, again, Dylan Raiola, he's coming up. Mm-hmm. And that game showed a lot to the world right there. He was consistent, didn't turn the ball over, smart. He was going all over the field to make good throws.
Hey, Peter, we gotta jump in here real quick. How about Anthony Beck's kid out at Iowa State, bringing them back to beat Iowa with a last-second 54-yard field goal?
Wow, I didn't even think about that. We've talked to Anthony Beck on this show before, and also on the JP Peterson show, more in the JP Peterson show. So good for him. Speaking of quarterbacks, kid, what were your thoughts, Leo, of Shedeur Sanders and his comments about his offensive line? I mean, you can't make those type of comments about the opposing quarterback not being touched and basically imply your offensive line didn't do their job, because eventually I feel like it's almost like Any Given Sunday. Remember when Jamie Foxx makes those comments and then the offensive line allows him to get killed? Do you think that's a situation there or mutiny that could happen with this locker room because of Sanders and his comments?
Oh, absolutely. I can remember Sam Darnold threw his offensive line under the bus after one game. He goes, you can't throw when you're on your back. Man, You don't do that.
No.
You do not make those 5 blocks of granite mad, because all of a sudden, if they forget to block, you're going to be out for the season.
Well, yeah, and let me ask you, do you think that Coach Prime here, Leo, this act is worn thin? And when do you feel like eventually they could pull the plug because of all the distractions, because of his kid making these comments, because the improvement is not there? I know it's 2 games in, but they could be 0-2. They could easily be 0-2 at this point, and all you hear is smack talk and expectations. And I get it, he took over a Colorado team, but is there a situation where you think that if he continues to struggle, that Colorado maybe thinks twice about bringing him back and just maybe lets him go? I mean, what do you?
Well, you know what, Peter? He's not struggling, because if you look at Colorado the year before, what were they? 0-12 or 1-11?
Yeah,
As
1-11.
long as he's showing improvement, he's okay. The mistake he made is playing, as Matt Rule said, I'm never going to play a team that's got Dakota in its name, because those guys can play at North Dakota State, South Dakota State.
Yeah,
They're going to give you a game. They can play. So
Yeah.
it becomes a distraction only when you lose. Up until then, people live with it, because what you had before that was pretty bad.
Yeah, it's pretty bad. What do you say, Ryan? I mean, does it become so much of a distraction that maybe they think twice? Maybe they could pull the plug on Deion early, or do you think they just ride it out here? Because again, it's talk about Deion, it's talk about his son being the quarterback, throwing the offensive line, not talking to media. Does it get to a point where it's too many distractions, and if you don't win, then basically again they just let you go? What do you say?
I don't think they let him go after this year. I think he's too much of a financial asset for the university, because 2 years ago, no one was talking about Colorado. Now they have talent coming to the team. They have national headlines for them. The intake on students throughout the years with incoming freshmen skyrocketed. Like, they filled out their dorm rooms. The university's making money. It's getting publicity. Bad publicity is good publicity. And I think this year they're going to give some leeway to Deion, and then next year is going to be where they're like, all right, you got to prove it now. This is your time.
All right, let's talk around the state of Florida. Can Florida turn this around, Leo, this weekend, or is Billy Napier really on? Is it dead man walking for Napier, in your opinion?
I tell you what, it's again, the only good thing you got going is that you haven't played a conference game yet. Yeah, LSU lost to USC, but I'm going to go back to what Sam Pittman said at Arkansas. Yeah, he lost in double overtime to Oklahoma State. You know what his first comment was? Not a conference game. Now with the 12-team playoff, all you got to do is get to the championship game, and you're pretty much going to be guaranteed that you're in. So, yeah, look at what's happening this coming week. Alabama's going to Wisconsin. You'd have never saw that when there was only 4 teams going to the playoffs. Now you're going to start to see some big-time programs playing some big-time programs. And, guys, we got to get into this before we get off. How about this? How do you think Notre Dame feels today? You paid Northern Illinois $1.4 million to come in and beat your behind in front of touchdown Jesus. That's not going to sit well with the Fighting Irish alumni, is it, Brian?
No, and it's kind of a pleasure, honestly, to me. I love watching these teams, these small teams going into Power 5 teams' home stadium. Excuse me, not Power 5. They're independent. So when you see like NIL in Northern Illinois University, go into South Bend and do a kickoff a field goal kick and win the game off that, and then you stop Notre Dame. It's Marcus Freeman. This is the second year this has happened. They lost to Marshall last year. Now it happens again at about the same point in the season. It's a bad mark on your team. It is a bad mark, even if it's one loss.
Well, speaking of bad mark, what about Michigan's performance? And I was ready to take Texas, even on the road, and Texas absolutely blew their doors off. Leo, how surprised were you by that? Texas over Michigan?
Not at all, Peter. Remember, I told you Texas may be the best pick on the card. They are flat out loaded. What Texas decided to do 2 years ago was to get tough in the trenches.
Yeah.
And that's what they've done. They've gotten bigger and badder in the offensive and defensive lines. And that's why Texas is so improved. I'll tell you what, I wouldn't be surprised to see Texas walk in and win the SEC. That's how good they are. And it's going to be really crazy because you may see a couple of undefeated teams in the SEC. You may even see 3 because they don't play each other. And again, when you got 16, 17 teams, it's hard to do. But
Who are those SEC teams that you could see being undefeated?
in the conference,
Yes.
I can see Georgia. I can see possibly Alabama. One of those two, because they play each other. I also think LSU could be undefeated in the conference.
Right.
And I tell you what, just Texas, they're really good.
They are.
They are really good. They're absolutely really good. Ryan, any final thoughts here on the evolution? Once again, congratulations, my friend. Oh, really quick. I wanted to ask you, have you changed your mindset? I get it. The Saints played the Panthers, but have you changed your mindset on Derek Carr and that offense overall, that team overall? They blew the doors off of Dave Canales and the Carolina Panthers. You changing your tune on that? Or is it the same Saints?
First, it's the Panthers. Second, it was really funny when I looked up Derek Carr on Google like the other day. I was like, let me look at how his stats on the game. The first thing that popped up was a Saints forum that said Derek Carr appreciation post. Sorry. And I was like, that's exactly how the fan base has been feeling. We will see. We play the Cowboys on Sunday. That's going to show us a lot. Clint Kubiak, our offensive coordinator, impressed. He impressed. We're using Kamara as we should, as a receiving back and running the ball to the outside. It looked nice watching him have a 100-yard game. And then Derek Carr, keep it going.
All right.
And you know what, Peter? I'm going to jump in there. Ryan, you're exactly right. I have preached to Saints fans and coaching staff. Pete Carmichael isn't there anymore. So guess what? That offense isn't running through Carr. It's running through Kamara. I said he's got to get 20 touches. If he gets 20 touches or more, they win the game. Guess what? He had 15 rushes. He had 5 receptions. It ended up at 110 yards. Do the math, folks. That's 11 yards a touch. That works.
That definitely works, and that's the reason why I propelled the Saints to blow out the Panthers. We'll see what they do this week, gentlemen. Ryan, go ahead and promote yourself here on the Evolution of Sports Talk Television, my friend.
You can find me on Instagram at ryan.nielster, CFB, college football. And then I'm on ampedupsports.com writing news articles and stuff like that and updates on LSU. Then you can also find me posting some videos on our Facebook page of Amped Up Sports.
Well, and you're not on Facebook. Are you on Facebook by chance?
No, I have a personal, but I don't do it on there. I'm going to keep it to Instagram and maybe X.
All right. So I still say you should do a personal there. Get personal, my friend. Ryan, congratulations on being credentialed member with LSU. We appreciate you here, as always, on the Sports Web. All right, boss?
Yep. Thank you for having me. Looking forward to next Wednesday.
All right, man. Good stuff there. Let me go back out to Leo Haggerty. Go ahead and promote yourself, as we are definitely going to be talking USF this weekend. I promise I wanted to do it with Alabama, but again, things get in the way. You got to drive, you got to work. So that's what I had to do. But we'll definitely have something this weekend. So kind of talk about it, go in and promote yourself, Leo Haggerty.
Well, go to Amped Up Sports on Facebook. Go to there on YouTube. We're posting daily my posts, and we're doing videos from USF. We also started, look for on Fridays, Shooting the Bull, where we end up talking to a player or players and just, seeing what they're like off the field. What's your favorite food? When you put your beats on, what's at the top of your playlist?
Right.
Who would you like to go see as a professional player? We got 12 questions. We like to call it the Dirty Dozen that we go through there. But again, Saturday night after the Southern Mississippi game, catch us on USF. We'll be on live. And you know what? It's going to be late night. Stay up because it's going to be a fun game to watch.
Definitely going to be a fun game to watch. And we'll see, because again, USF with the kind of effort they put out there versus the Alabama Crimson Tide, it would be easy for them to come out flat. But listening to Coach Golish today, I just don't think that's going to happen. He'll have this team ready to go. And hopefully Byron Brown is leading the way. Leo, thanks a lot for your time here on the Evolution of Sports Talk Television, my friend. All right?
Talk to you next Wednesday, Peter. Take care.
All right. Next Wednesday right there. Good stuff. So it's just you and me because there's no Harry the Greek, I guess, and there's no Best of the Bay Tampa Bay Ray Kennedy. So open phone lines if you want to talk about your Tampa Bay Buccaneers, the injury situation, 727-255-0391. It's 727-255-0391. What's the key matchup that you're looking forward to seeing in this game? I mentioned it. I put it out there. I'm looking forward to it. I want to see what our old friend, Mr. Carlton Davis, is going to do versus Mike Evans. Which leads me to my other question of the night. Kyle Brandt came out, was talking about how Mike Evans, he believes, is the greatest Tampa Bay Buccaneer of all time. In fact, I'll tell you what, let's see if we can go ahead and get that up. We'll have that on the audio here, but I want to kind of play that if we can. Let's see if we can get that audio up here really quick. And then once we get that up, then we will go ahead and come back. But I think it's definitely interesting to say the least in his take. I hate commercials, so we're going to play this sound. We can't play the video, unfortunately, because I'm kind of worried about getting copyrighted here. So we'll try to play this audio. It's about 5 minutes. I'll give myself a break here. And if we do have some phone calls, we'll cut the audio right here. But here is what Kyle Brandt had to say of NFL Network on Mike Evans on the Evolution of Sports Talk Television. Here we go.
Mike Evans, touchdown Tampa Bay. Fire the cannons one more time, Buccaneers.
Michael Evans, man. Michael Evans. Physically, and Michael Evans. When you take some in as a
all right,
the coolest guy in the league right now.
All right, stand by, guys. Hold on.
Started thinking about
cheating. Number one in the books.
All right, here we go.
I want to talk about Mike Evans. Baker's like the coolest guy in the league right now, but I got to talk about Mike Evans. I was flying home from Los Angeles to New York recently, and, I just got a little loose, and I started thinking about football, and I was watching the games, and I was watching that Buccaneers game, and I released this tweet. I posted this on X, and my tweet was that I have a Mike Evans take. It's too hot for this platform, but I believe it. And so all these Bucs fans are saying, release the take, release it. We want to hear the take. Well, the take crystallized, I think, around the time this past week when he was scoring the second of 2 touchdowns and just another Mike Evans season, week 1, coming out, looking unstoppable, and him scoring the first touchdown, and then he just chinned it in with the second he didn't even need, but I decided he should have it anyway. So here's the take. First, let's just warm-up takes. I think Mike Evans was a Hall of Famer a couple of years ago. I do. I think last season he became a first ballot Hall of Famer after another 1,000-yard season, another playoff run. And I have to come around to the take. Here's the take. Mike Evans is the greatest Tampa Bay Buccaneer of all time. And I'm going to get into it. He is the one. We have over a decade now of dominance and durability by one of the best dudes in any locker room. Now, you have to split hairs a little bit with a take like this between best Buck ever and greatest Buck ever. Has a Buccaneer ever been better at their position for a given time than Mike Evans? Maybe. But greatest, that term, I think it means ability, success, and dominance over a long period of time. You, as a football fan, likely know about the astounding stat of 10 straight years of 1,000-plus yards. Did you know, though, that in many of those years he played every single game and has never played fewer than 13 games in a season? The durability of Mike Evans is incredible. In a matter of weeks, he's going to catch his 100th touchdown. There are 8 wide receivers in history to hit 100. Every single one of them is in the Hall of Fame. Most of them first ballot or guys who should have been like Terrell Owens and guys who will be like Larry Fitzgerald. But I am aware that the second I say greatest Buccaneer ever, immediately you, the fan, think of 4 legends of Bucs past. I do too. Trust me. I grew up on Lynch and Barber and Brooks and Sapp. Those guys are action figures to me. They are heroes. Derek Brooks, a 5-time All-Pro. I'm very aware of that. I love Derek Brooks. I think each of those guys would openly admit that all of them being on the same team, in fact, the same side of the ball, created and crafted their greatness, and they played together through the greatest stretch of Bucs football, maybe any defensive football ever played. That was a hell of a group, and they won a lot. Mike Evans went 2-14, still bald. He went 5-11, still bald. Next year went 5-11 again, still bald. In just over 10 seasons, Mike Evans has had 4 head coaches, 6 offensive coordinators, 7 starting quarterbacks, and he's been amazing. And he's been great in huge games. His first ever playoff game in 2020 had 119 yards. His most recent playoff game against Detroit last year, he had 147 yards and a touchdown. And I think if you consider what current player on their current team is the greatest player in the history of that franchise, I think it's Patrick Mahomes and Mike Evans. I think that is the list. They are the greatest ever of their franchise now. And I think Mike Evans is that. He is big. He is fast. He is tough as hell. He doesn't get injured. He's beloved in the locker room and the community. And I think Mike Evans is the greatest Tampa Bay Buccaneer of all time.
Boom. There you go. Durability and dominance. I mean, those are great words, right? The two D's there, durability and dominance. That's been Mike Evans. That's been Mike Evans throughout his whole career. So good stuff there by Kyle Brandt of NFL Network. As we will take your phone calls. What do you think, Bucs fans? Is he the greatest of all time? 727-255-0391. It's 727-255-0391. And again, what's the matchup you're looking forward to seeing against the Lions? Again, for me, Carlton Davis versus Mike Evans. With Mike Evans and the success that he had last year against that Lions secondary. And why do you improve that secondary in the first place if you're a Detroit fan? To stop a guy like Mike Evans, to stop the top wide receivers in the league. Cooper Kupp, good game. Overall, the secondary wasn't bad, even though they gave up 300 yards. They had a 90 rating if you're rating secondaries. So they didn't do bad. Of course, Stafford threw the ball a lot. Did they give up a lot of big plays? We know that the Bucs will be trying to expose some of those big plays with Chris Godwin. And, of course, Jalen McMillan. But that's the matchup I'm kind of looking at. And then the thing that kind of concerns me, and I saw Josh Allen there watching on Instagram. Thanks a lot for tuning in, JC. As always, appreciate that. The thing I'm concerned about is Luke Haggerty at the right tackle spot, having concussion protocol. You definitely don't want to lose your offensive lineman. Like, listen, I get it. You lose 2 of your corners. You're not sure if you're going to have Zion McCollum this week. You lose the best safety in the league in Antoine Winfield Jr. Of course, Detroit has an explosive offense themselves with Gibbs and Montgomery in the backfield and Amon-Ra St. Brown. I think I pronounced his name correctly. There we go. And Sam Laporta, the tight end, which, most likely that safety position is going to be key. Because Laporta only had 4 catches for 45 yards. So we'll see what they can do. We'll see who's going to play that safety position. We'll see if it's Etienne, and we'll see if it's going to be Tyke Smith. My money could be on Tyke Smith. I think Tyke can handle it, even though he's a rookie. And those are the type of matchups that the Lions are going to definitely look at. Open phone line, 727-255-0391. It's 727-255-0391. Let's go out to Todd Bowles, hear what he had to say yesterday about this matchup. He says, I definitely didn't stay up that late, talking in the Monday press conference. I stayed up enough to eat dinner and go to bed because I knew I have to watch them all day today. He goes on to say, they're very balanced. They're very strong up front. They can beat you both ways, running the ball or throwing the ball. Very physical team, very fast on the outside, very fast in the backfield, very athletic at tight end. Of course, you look what they did against the Rams, of course, beating the Rams 26-20 in overtime. They threw the ball 28 times and ran the ball 31 times. Of course, they threw the ball more than regulation and ran on 7 of 8 plays in overtime, trying to show their physicality at the point of attack. That's what teams do that are balanced. You take the pressure off of Goff, who didn't necessarily have the best game, right? 217 yards, 1 interception, 1 touchdown, nothing to write home about. What the Bucs are going to be looking at is trying to get pressure on him. We saw during the divisional game, when you don't get pressure on Goff, what does he do? He has all that time to scan those weapons to expose that Buccaneer back end. That's exactly what you don't want. That's why, for me, as much as of a loss it is for Antoine Winfield Jr., losing him, I would like to have Kalijah Kancey back because it's definitely going to help your pass rush. Yaya Diaby has to come out this week. JTS has to come out this week. And they got to put it out there. They got to get after the quarterback. You got to get after the quarterback. Because we know if you force Goff into those situations, he'll throw some interceptions. You also said, of course, again, they can beat you a bunch of ways. They don't have one way to beat you, so you got to be sharp on all accounts. So there you go. There you go. And an interesting story that came out today, and this is from Jenna Lane, friend of the show, during the media availability. Tavier Thomas told Jenna Lane of ESPN that Mike Evans had offered to step up and play corner for the Bucs against the Commanders. His main argument for making the move, he played cornerback in the Pro Bowl during flag football. I highly doubt that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers would take that chance of playing Mike Evans on the back end. I really do. Not unless you're like playing, a Hail Mary or something along those lines. I can't see you taking that chance with Mike Evans. So there you go. That was an interesting story, to say the least. Let's go back out to the comments here. Let's go out to Space Windu. I want to see some more of Tucker. I think right now that running back room is pretty strong, don't you? I mean, the first week, that was the one thing that I was looking at, right? We said it. That would be a matchup that you would have to win. You would have to win that matchup against Jonathan Allen and Daron Payne, and that offensive line was able to win that. And even though, the statistics are not there for White getting the rushing yards, you got it from Bucky Irving. 9 carries for 62 yards. Impressive. Opening up those holes on the interior line. When he gets to that second level, being shifty enough to break tackles, not going down in the first tackle. So it's going to be a combination. This is what you have to be excited about. That's a pretty damn good defensive line. People could say, well, Allen and Payne, they didn't show up. They're overpaid. Maybe, just maybe, the offensive line was a lot better on Sunday. It's been a lot better from last year. That's the reason why you draft Graham Barton in the first place, right? To open that all up. So that was definitely impressive, to say the least. Let me go out to Christopher Cole. Oh, now you show Evan some love. Yeah, exactly. Like, this has been our whole talk, right, on the sports web the last couple of years about how this Bucs team doesn't necessarily get the respect from the national media. How they were all talking about the mouth breathers out there. We're talking about how great the Atlanta Falcons are. And what did we say on this show? What did we say? We said that Kirk Cousins was not fully healthy. We said that they made a mistake by not getting an offensive lineman or defensive lineman or somebody who'd rush the passer with that 8th pick and instead getting a quarterback. We said that there was a possibility that Cousins could be hurt. And you watch that game more and more. And I watched the highlights of it. And I watched some of that game broadcast. And he looks slow. He does not look good. You've got to have a little bit of mobility as a quarterback. You do. You don't have to be Michael Vick. You don't have to be Lamar Jackson. You don't even have to be Patrick Mahomes. What you have to be is like Baker Mayfield. Stay with me here. Because Baker last Sunday was able to escape some of those situations. The offensive line did allow some defensive linemen to get in there, but he's mobile enough to move out of the way. He's able enough to scale the pocket, move a little bit, pick up some yards, and then, of course, get the slide. Kirk Cousins is not able to do that. Kirk Cousins is not able to do that right now. You watch him on film, he looks like the injury is definitely affecting him. He does not look 100%. So all this talk, all this media hype about how great the Atlanta Falcons are and how great Kirk Cousins is and how he's going to solidify that quarterback position is hogwash. It's just all talk. It's all paper. Look at the film. Do you think that situation's going to get any better? You think they're going to go in there and beat the Philadelphia Eagles on the road? You think they're going to beat the Kansas City Chiefs? I don't. So they're basically staring down the barrel of an 0-3 start to a season. Wow. So the national media darling Atlanta Falcons aren't as good as everybody's been saying. So what we've talked about on this show is basically correct, that it still runs through Tampa Bay, that the two teams that could be the most competitive in the NFC South are the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and the New Orleans Saints. 727-255-0391. It's 727-255-0391. I get it. It's early in the season, but honestly, do you think the offensive line is going to improve? Do you think Kirk Cousins and that health is going to improve? By the way, it kind of reminds me of the situation last year. They're in a new offense. They're in a new offense. You got a new coach there. These things weren't taken into consideration when making these predictions about the Falcons for the NFC South. None of this was taken into consideration, right? You just saw the names. You just saw Kirk Cousins. You just saw Drake London. You just saw Kyle Pitts. You saw Bijan Robinson. And the pickups of Matt Judon and Justin Simmons in the at safety position. But nothing was taken into consideration that this could actually happen. We've been watching football for how long? And what do we always talk about on this show? What do we talk about, webheads? We talk about winning within the lines. You got to have a good offensive line at the point of attack. You got to have an offensive line that's going to be able to give you the time. I get it. The Steelers are a great defense. That line did not look good, did it? And that line is going to be pressured. So let me get this straight. You got a 36-year-old quarterback who's coming off a major knee injury, who doesn't have the mobility, and you put him behind an offensive line that's as soft as Charmin. Does that make any sense to you? 727-255-0391. It's 727-255-0391. It makes no sense, man. And that's why I always tell you, Bucs fans out there, don't necessarily pay attention to all the national media nonsense. That's what it is. That's what they do. They disrespect the Tampa Bay Buccaneers almost every year. They've done it the last 3 to 4 years. We heard it all. Whether it was Brady is too old, whether it's Brady is washed up, can they get it done? Will they bring back all their players? Then when they bring back all their players, will it last? Still winning the division. Now Brady's gone. Oh, Baker Mayfield. He was awful. He's garbage. He was garbage with Carolina. Why do you think he's going to turn it around? Because he's got a constant franchise, an organization that believes in him. He's got the weapons around him that we've seen that have been consistent. Professional wide receivers like Evans and Godwin. A coach who knows how to get the most out of him. And a defense that can get after it. And so the national media will be disrespectful. Cool. Awesome. Enjoy the Atlanta Falcons. They're most likely going to be 0-3. I'll tell you right now. It's not a rocket science. It's not. You think they're going to beat the Philadelphia Eagles? Okay. All right. You think they're going to beat the Kansas City Chiefs? Okay. We'll see. Again, 727-255-0391. It's 727-255-0391. Somebody just text me, I don't like Mike Evans. Why don't you like Mike Evans, Lisi? How can you text me this when I'm on a broadcast saying you don't like Mike Evans? How do you not like Mike Evans, by the way? How is that possible? He does everything correctly. He's the most consistent Buccaneer, most likely of all time, besides a Derek Brooks, right? How do you not like Mike Evans? I don't get that. That's the text I just got. So, she might be having a bad day. I don't know. She has to explain herself, though. Somebody has to explain that. Anybody on this broadcast at this point not like Mike Evans? I mean, the constant effort that he puts out. I mean, that question's out there tonight. Is he the greatest Tampa Bay Buccaneer of all time? I definitely think you can make that conversation. I think it's more, again, than just, being consistent, because you can do it with any quarterback, right? We've seen that. We've seen how productive he is. We see how professional he is on and off the field, right? But for me, which makes him one of the greatest Buccaneers of all time, if not the greatest Buccaneer of all time, is, the restructures, the selflessness, being selfish, not selfish, where a lot of people, the rumors were running rampant in the offseason, where he could have taken more money from Kansas City, where he could have gone to Houston, thanks to Mike Evans' wife, Ashley. Appreciate that for convincing him. Somebody says, why would you call me out like that? Oh my God. Why would you do that? Because I want to know. You're texting me during the show here. I want to know why you don't like Mike Evans. Put it in the comments there, please. This is the evolution of sports talk television. It's the Sports Web. I'm your host, Peter Blake, your Rolex reporter. Let's see here. Go out to KR. Evening, Peter and guys. What's going on, boss? Woo! Let's go out to Space Windu. Yes, Tampa is looking strong as long as they come out scoring and playing clean. Minimal flags. The guys are golden. Love it. Let's go out to the phone lines. What's your name? Where you're calling from? You're on the evolution.
Hello.
Yes, hello.
Hi, this is the girls who was riding your Uber that day you gave us your cards.
Really? Hey, how you doing? Welcome. See, people think I'm joking about this, but I'm always talking Bucks football, and I'm even doing that in an Uber. What's going on? Welcome to the evolution. You're live.
Hi, is you doing Uber this time of night?
No, I'm not Ubering right now. I'm actually doing a live sports talk show, but I appreciate you calling me. We'll have to definitely talk later, okay?
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye-bye. You think I'm joking, but I'm not. My number's out there. 727-255-0391. It's 727-255-0391. Can you Uber? No, I'm live right now. You're on the live sports talk show. Well, what are you talking about? No, I'm live right now, and you're live right now. All right, let's go back to this comment here. Yeah, Tampa is looking strong as long as they come out scoring and playing clean and minimal flags. The guys are golden. Love it. Yeah, I mean, it comes down to that. I mean, if you're going to really harp on something about this team versus the Commanders, if you want to say something, it was the penalty situation. Far too many penalties. Of course, that's not going to fly with the Lions team that has the expectations this year of not only going to the playoffs and winning their division, but also going to the Super Bowl. Because remember, they were only a couple plays away from being the 49ers. If the coach decides to, instead of going for fourth down, taking the points and running. That, I mean, if you don't go for fourth down, you keep the ball, you're dominating the 49ers before halftime, most likely you're in that Super Bowl. So the point is, the Super Bowl expectations are there for this team. So some of the things that you were able to get away with against the Commanders, you're not going to be able to do that. So you definitely have to have a clean game. In fact, I would say this is a game when you want to get off to a good start, because that crowd is going to be unbelievable. They're going to be loud out there. So if you score an early touchdown, you take the crowd out of it. If not, then it becomes a problem, and that also can lead to some penalties there, false starts and stuff like that. Christopher Cole says cow turd, saying that Atlanta is going to give Philadelphia a game. Somebody she wrote me back because I called her out, and she says it was a joke. You better be a joke. You're texting me on my show saying that you don't like Mike Evans. That's funny. I appreciate that. Thank you very much for clarifying that. Yeah. And again, my phone line is open. It's open for text messages. It's open for phone calls from people doing Uber, thinking that I was joking when I told them I do a sports talk show. This is real. This is what we do here on Monday and Wednesday nights. This is the Sports Web. What is the Sports Web? People go, it's a podcast. Is it a podcast? I don't necessarily think it's a podcast. You know why? Because podcasts are recorded. You can edit them. You can't edit that. When somebody calls for an Uber asking for me, that's on there. That's live. It's a cross between a radio and a TV show with radio elements, engagement, all kinds of phone calls. Usually tonight has been kind of crickets. I don't know what the hell is going on at this point. And as always, we try to read your comments, and you got to like and subscribe to the Sports Web on YouTube. And of course, friend me on Facebook. Facebook stars are out there if you love the content. And of course, YouTube super chats, as we got Ralph Williams there in the back. We'll start talking about turnbuckle talk, because it seems like, nobody's interested in talking about the Tampa Bay Buccaneers tonight. So we'll just move on to professional wrestling talk. But let's go back out to that. Cal Turd saying that Atlanta is going to give Philadelphia a game. They may. I mean, it's the National Football League. Is it overreaction? To a certain degree on my part? Absolutely. Am I a little bit biased? Absolutely, I'm a little bit biased. But tape don't lie, right? I mean, it's the old hip-hop song there. Women lie, men lie, but tape doesn't lie. That's really not a hip-hop song. It's from Lil Wayne. That's what he said. He didn't say tape, but he probably should have. That probably would have been a bigger hit, because the tape doesn't lie. The tape doesn't lie when it comes down to the draft process. The tape doesn't lie when you see Kirk Cousins, who's about 36 years old. He looks like he's about 66 years old because he's got no mobility, versus an offensive line that is the turnstile. It's going to be turnstile for him. That doesn't lie. Talk about all the names you want to, talk about all the numbers you want to, but look at that tape. You think Philadelphia is an improved defense? I definitely think they're an improved defense. I definitely think they can get after Kirk Cousins. All right, let's go out to space. Windu, laugh out loud. Yes.
Oh, yeah.
You just never know who's going to call, do you? There you go. Mike Evans is the GOAT. Sure be a first ballot Hall of Famer. Go Bucks. Go Bucks.
Let's go!
Go Bucks.
How about them Bucks, baby?
Go Bucks. Absolutely first ballot Hall of Famer. Let's go out to KR again. Looking forward to the game on Sunday, and we'll have you. Well, we got you. I don't know about a pregame show, but definitely a postgame show with probably, hopefully, more phone calls and more interaction when it comes to this matchup. I guess you guys went to, what is it, the MVP, MTV Music Awards, the network that doesn't have any music videos is on tonight. Is that where everybody's at? Is that what everybody's doing? I mean, you had Roger Shue, the Tribal Troll. He was watching wrestling. You'd rather watch AEW, which, by the way, their ratings have been absolutely stinking lately. You'd rather watch that stuff, that nonsense, instead of this? All right, go for it. Atlanta should be worried about Cousins' performance. They should be. That's what I'm saying. There's nothing biased about that. Like, you could sit here and say they're going to turn it around. How are they going to turn it around? How are they going to turn this around? Their offensive line isn't good. And by the way, my co-host there, Harry the Greek professional handicapper extraordinaire, he told you that they were overrated. He told you, like we all did on this show, that Kirk Cousins isn't 100% healthy. All right. I hope the Bucks can spot a 30-piece on the Lions. Let's go out to the Tribal Troll here.
Acknowledge me.
Yeah, acknowledge me with your bull crap about me watching Raw or Dynamite.
Well, you were watching it, weren't you not? Did you
yes,
not put
I
that?
Absolutely
Okay,
did.
Joe, you put that
and
out
I had
there.
You on
Hold on.
At the same time.
You put that out there. You put that out there on the text message. You haven't engaged at all. You've been a lazy, a bum tonight. So that's
better late than never.
Well,
baby.
you're late right now. So what do you have to say? What's on your mind?
All I was doing was calling in to say it's been a great show. I loved it.
Thank you very much. I've not had a lot of guests. I had Leo and I had Ryan and I had Jason, and that's about it. Everything else has been me talking and expounding on this Bucks game, which I'm excited about, and hopefully a lot of Bucks fans out there excited about getting revenge on the Lions on Sunday.
I hope you beat the crap out of them.
Yeah, it would be nice
That'll
to
help
do
my
that.
Bears.
But it's going to be tough without Antoine Winfield Jr. Who do you guys the best safety in the game? Who do you guys play this week? Who do the Bears
We
play?
have the Houston Texans.
Houston struggled versus Indianapolis. That was a close game, but you got to face C.J. Stroud. Is that in Chicago? Or is that on the road?
I believe it's on the road.
Ooh, okay. All right. So second-year
Caleb
quarterback.
Williams will have a breakout game.
Breakout game against that defense. I don't know.
Yes.
We'll see. We'll see. You feeling good about that matchup? Well, what's your
Absolutely.
score? What's your score in that game?
I'm gonna go 20. Oh my God, I'm gonna go 20. I don't know, 28-17 Bears.
Well, all right. Spit it out, Junior. 28-17 Bears. All right. We got you down for that. Anything else?
That's about it.
All
I
right.
just wanted to call and say great show. And
Thank you.
You've had great commenters in the chat. And
we have. Absolutely. Been doing good tonight. All right, Roger. Appreciate it as
All right, man.
always. How'd you do
I will
today?
talk to you in the
By the way, how'd you do on the phone today?
16 out of 19.
Well, you at least got your 16. I didn't even. I got on late, of course, because I produce and
You're
co-host.
doing JP.
Right. I think I got 11 out of 11, but I don't know. It was a rough day, man.
Every day is a rough day.
Esther, Winifred, and Rita beat me down today real good. So there you go. It's always a good day. All right, my friend. Appreciate the call. Use the second call if you want to, okay?
I'll talk to you in the morning.
All right, sounds good. All right, we'll read the rest of these comments, and then I will get out to the patiently waiting Mr. Ralph Williams, bodyguard of the Berg, and we will talk. We will talk about WWE action. We will talk about AEW action, some stories from the week. Yeah, they have the MTV Music Awards, and we have AEW Dynamite. Yeah, there you go. I mean, what would you rather watch at this point? You want to watch those, or you want to watch the evolution of sports talk television? Let me go out to Lucas here. How many points do you think we have to put up to win in Detroit? I would say 30-34. I think that's pretty good. And I think it's certainly possible because, yeah, the Lions' defense has improved. But are they that improved? Now, am I worried about Haggerty missing this game with concussion protocol? Absolutely, because you miss your right tackle, and those are your two bookends at the end of the day. All right, let's see here. Let's go out to KR. Atlanta got sold on Fool's Gold, and they might be playing Penix earlier than expected. Exactly. Anthony Christie says, what's the number again? The number is 727-255-0391. It's 727-255-0391. Let me go out to Christopher Cole. If D. White plays, then I would give the Falcons a puncher's chance to win. And most likely D. White is not going to play in this game. He's not even a starter because Nakobe Dean beat him out in training camp.
This guy sucks.
So there you go. KR says WWE said they're going to cut down at about 200 to 250 live events in 2025. And Christopher Cole, Bears defense is dominant, but the Titans choke. Let's go out to the phone lines. Welcome to the Evolution. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Calling from North.
Who is this?
Anthony Chris.
Oh, what's going on, buddy? What's on your mind tonight? You want to talk about your Bucks?
Yeah, since post-draft. Just the feedback about the upcoming game. Yeah, I'm concerned about the backfield depth.
Okay.
With all to the secondary.
Right.
The offense is looking great, man. I mean, I feel like the offense can put up 30 points. 30 plus points.
They certainly seem like they can. I mean, what they did on Sunday and the potential, right? I mean, because the offensive line is improved. On top of it, you have an offensive coordinator that seems like they have an identity and they have motion to it. And they have all kinds of talent like Evans and Godwin and, of course, McMillan. And we haven't even talked about Cade Otton, who had a pretty good game last year versus the Lions. And he also got the running game, the two-headed monster of White and Irving. So I definitely think the sky is the limit. And with Baker Mayfield doing what he's doing, and again, it goes with any quarterback, right, Anthony? You got to protect your quarterback. You got to give your quarterback 3 to 5 seconds. If you can do that, he can definitely make you pay.
Yeah, no, I feel like they can put up points. The question is, I don't state for Winfield being out. I think they got Merriweather,
Mm-hmm.
I know that there's still some uncertainty about McCollum playing. But there's a little bit of there's some questions on in the defensive backfield. Do you know anything about the defensive lineman?
Elijah Cansey?
Yeah, Elijah Cansey.
Yeah, I mean, he hurt the same the same calf injury last year, so that's not good because again, you missed 3 to 4 games, 4 to 6 weeks there, so that could be a lingering thing. You hope that's not going to happen this year, but he hurt the so. If you're the Bucs, do you take a chance? Most likely you don't. You want to make sure that he's at least somewhat 100%. And he is a building block of your future. But we know when he plays on that line is different and you can get pressure. And, of course, all the pressure, when you get pressure up front, that helps your back end out. If it's all predicated on pressure up front, and Elijah Cansey helps that situation. But if he's not available and he's hurt, that definitely hurts that situation. Anything else?
Well, I think that because the offense is playing so well, that maybe they potentially outscore Detroit. I don't know.
Well, that's what you got to look at. That's exactly the kind of matchup I think a lot of Bucs fans are anticipating, a high-scoring affair where the Bucs would definitely have to outscore, and you have to pick your defense up. But at the end of the day, your defense, it could come down to that last drive, right? Your defense has to step up. They have to get stops. Anthony, anything else here on the Sports Web? Appreciate the call, my friend. Anything else?
No, that'll do it. Thanks. Appreciate it.
Yeah, man. Absolutely. Keep on calling. Ralph, I know I'm going to get to you out here, but let's go out to the phone lines. What's your name? Where are you calling from? You're on the Evolution.
Hey, this is Cole from Tampa, Florida.
What's going on, man? How you doing? I guess the question should be, what's the matchup you're looking forward to seeing with the Bucs and the Lions? How much concern do you have? And then this was put out there today. Mike Evans, the greatest Buccaneer of all time. Where do you stand, my friend? Welcome to the Sports Web.
The greatest of all time? Mike a bad man, but I don't know about greatest of all time.
No, not a greatest of all time?
No.
How come?
No.
How come?
I kind of picture us on the defensive front for one of the greatest of all time. If it ain't Leroy, it might be Brooks or Sapp.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Okay.
But hey, man, Mike Evans a bad man. You know what I mean?
He is a bad man.
Can't take nothing from him.
No, you can't.
Right,
You're absolutely correct. All right.
The thing about Detroit, maybe we might be able to generate a little bit of pressure because Goff's not as mobile. So if we send some kind of 5 blitz, if we send 5 or 6, we might be able to get to him. But Goff pretty good against the blitz, so it's gonna be a tough game, man. Any way you look at it, we got to go back up there to Detroit.
Yeah,
I mean, but you got to relish these moments because that's what makes us a better team. We can't just sit here and play the easier teams and expect to get somewhere. We got to go up there and start beating the upper echelon team.
Yeah, upper echelon team. You're exactly right. Which you have those expectations, if you will, about yourself and also about the Lions. Let's face it, they're the national media darling besides the Atlanta Falcons, and they should be to a certain degree the Lions because they're only a couple plays away from being in that Super Bowl if their coach, Dan Campbell, decides to run the ball or take the points, if you will, instead of going for 4th down against the 49ers. They had the 49ers on the rope, but you're exactly right. A couple plays here and there for the Bucs. The Bucs are in the NFC Championship game, and once again, this is your measuring stick, right? So if you're going to be an upper echelon team yourself and you're going to start to prove people wrong and shut people up and leave no doubt, then you have to go up there and beat a team like the Lions. And it's going to be tough because you have this injury situation with Winfield Jr. being down possibly 2 to 3 corners already. We'll see about Zion.
Let me ask, not to cut y'all, did they sign anybody through our free agency?
Just Keenan, they re-signed Keenan Isaac, and it goes back to what Bowles said a couple days ago. We're going to have to see these guys play. If they play it out, then that's the reason why they make this team in the first place. If not, then we may have to go out there and get somebody. I know there's a lot of people want to go Patrick Peterson, Xavier Howard, but the in-house options, it seems like it doesn't seem like that's where the Bucs are going to go right now.
Yeah, they're young. They kind of younger, younger and know the scheme.
Correct.
So
correct. And that's a tough thing about it. You know the scheme. If you get a player like, say, a Peterson, he's played in the Todd Bowles defense before. Is he long in the tooth? Is he up there in age? Has he seen his best days? Absolutely. But he knows the defense. he's definitely, you would think, an improvement over what you have at this point, especially if they struggle. So we'll see how that plays out. Anything else, my friend?
No, man. All I'm saying is, man, I mean, we got to go up there and stop the run, man. That's the main thing. We got to stop the run. But Detroit, man, they'll just line up and run it down your throat. That's what's crazy about it, man. You know, I ain't never seen a team like that could just, you know, in this new day and age of NFL, you know, teams don't just line up and run like that. Maybe the 49ers, maybe the other team that could do that.
Sure. 49ers are physical at the point of attack. You know, the teams that make it in the postseason, Corey, are physical at the point of attack because of the weather conditions. And that's how you win. That's how you basically knock out that defense. You put the body blow into them after you run the ball. Montgomery did that the other night, 17 carries for 91 yards. Gibbs, I think, followed with 40. That's over 100 yards. It's kind of like what the Bucs did, right? With White and Irving. It's over, you know, that's what they want to do. They want to become balanced. So it'll be interesting to see. Give me a score prediction really quick here, and then we got to get out to Turnbuckle Talk.
Oh, man, it might be 28-24 Detroit, man. I rock with my Bucks, man, but, you know, it's going to be hard, man.
Hey, man, I appreciate the honesty. I appreciate you being unbiased at this point. Good stuff. Don't be a stranger. Use that second call, my friend. All right, we'll give you the Ric Flair. Woo! Appreciate you. Right. We'll see you soon. Sir. All right, good stuff there. Let's go out to Mr. Ralph Williams, a bodyguard of the Berg. We will go ahead and talk about Turnbuckle Talk. As we were talking about the Atlanta Falcons, I got to start with this because you watched the Pittsburgh Steelers. How happy, how elated were you with Justin Fields at the controls there, leading the Pittsburgh Steelers on the road against the Atlanta Falcons? Welcome to the Evolution.
Thank you. Yeah, Peter, I think that it was a good game for Justin. It was great to see him get back into what he needs to do. He did what he had to do, and he did it good. And used his feet a lot, which is great, and that's a great weapon to have. And, you know, so the only thing I didn't like was the 2 fourth-down calls. I know that didn't come from him. That came from Arthur Smith, you know, and they try to, you know, get the first down on 2 fourth-down plays that I just didn't understand at all, you know. So, but we'll see what happens this week. We got to play the Denver Broncos in Mile High, and that's not a great place to play a game anyway. And it was supposed to be the return of Russell Wilson, and that don't look like it may not be happening.
Yeah, it may not happen because Russell Wilson once again hurt throughout training camp, hurt throughout the preseason. I think a lot of Pittsburgh Steelers fans are not going to be hurt if he doesn't start a game, especially if Justin Fields continues to win. The story was that defense and TJ Watt getting after it. With that being said, we had some news this week. Of course, SmackDown going to USA on September 13th. The debut there with Cody Rhodes wrestling solo there for the title. We kind of tipped that off. I mean, is that a great booking decision by them? Come out swinging on the USA Network. SmackDown on Friday night.
Yeah, it's a good idea, Peter. It's great to finally see some good matches on SmackDown. Some of the matches that I've seen, I'm getting kind of tired of. Raw's the same way. Raw's going to go to 2 hours real soon, too, from what I understand. So, you know, we're going to find out what happens here. And I think it's a good idea to book it for the going on the new network, just like I did with Fox.
Yeah, no, that's exactly right. And then, of course, in NXT is going to be going on
CW.
Yeah. So CW Sports is definitely going to have their hand in that, and everything is changing. And you're exactly right. Do you like that decision of going?
Well, I do because see, the CW is trying to get back into wrestling. They used to do ROH matches years ago, and you know, or their programs. And then NWA dropped the ball when Billy Corrigan was told by the network not to play a certain program, and he played it on there, and they canceled that contract. So, you know, it's nice to see this for NXT. On the CW, it's nice to have something on a public network. You know, if you have a converter box, you don't have cable. It's nice to see something like that for folks who you know, can watch it like that. And I think it fits the mold with CW.
Yeah, you're exactly right. And the spokesman for WWE, Shapiro, came out, spoke to Goldman Sachs technology conference and made it clear that WWE doesn't need more of what is described as marginally profitable shows. He says, we're cutting events at WWE. We're taking our low margin, marginally profitable events, untelevised events that Vince McMahon put in place to grow the brand. You're taking the show on the road. We got to go to every city. We get to grow the WWE brand. Well, the WWE brand, while we'll still have to grow it, it's on fire right now. We don't need to carry these marginally profitable events. What was 300 events last year will be roughly 250 this year, and next year will be close to 200. Is this smart on their part? Even though right now WWE is hot, like he says. It's profitable. You don't have to grow that. It's a Vince McMahon thing. And it seems like anything and everything that Vince McMahon had his fingerprints on when it comes to this company is being washed away. Is that the correct thing to do by this company?
I believe so. They have to get what I call the Vince McMahon stink. They got to get it out. And, there was some stink there. And, they have to get it out. And, it's a whole new era. And, they want to be able to say, hey, look, this is our new era. This is what we're doing. Vince McMahon is gone. And, now Triple H, Paul Lefebvre is running with this. And it's great to see him do this. I think he's got some good team of people with him that can help him and work with him. And I think it's a great thing. I'm glad they're doing it this way, cutting some of these events back. You got some of these events, Peter, in some of these small little cities that just don't cut it. They don't draw. And, I don't blame them if that's what they're going to do.
Yeah, and it's interesting because I agree with you on that. The only problem is you kind of take that away from fans. You take the house shows away. Like you said, 300 events. Now it goes to 250 to 200. And then on top of that, you're cutting wrestling down from 3 hours, although I think that's really good because 3 hours of wrestling, we love it. We love to watch it, but sometimes it does kind of get it's oversaturated, right? I mean,
I want to see the matches move, Peter. I don't want to see all this. Okay, all this going on, and they keep doing that to fill Raw. Now that they're down to 2 hours, maybe there'll be some wrestling like SmackDown, where they'll wrestle and do a little less of this. Okay, that's what I like about this Raw going down to 2 hours now. I love it, and I hope it stays that way. Because 3 hours of wrestling was getting a little dragged out.
Absolutely. All right, we're on with Ralph Williams, bodyguard of the Berg. This is Turnbuckle Talk. If you have a question about WWE, of course, AEW, or your Tampa Bay Buccaneers, open phone line, 727-255-0391. It's 727-255-0391. Batista recently talked to BuzzFeed, a celeb, and he was asked which WWE star he believes could follow in his Hollywood success. He indicated that if CM Punk decided to shift focus away from professional wrestling, he could do well in the acting world. You know who I think really is overlooked as an actor? I don't know if it hasn't been pursued as much. He liked to because he's still heavily pursuing professional wrestling, but it is CM Punk, Phil Brooks. His potential in acting is pretty unlimited. I really want to see more from him in acting. I'd actually love to work with him because I think he has a passion for acting, but I think he still has heart in professional wrestling. And until he's able to let that go a little bit, he'll never be able to fully get himself into acting. But I think Phil Brooks is a great actor. Phil Brooks, CM Punk is the next actor for WWE. What do you say?
That could be, Peter, because I tell you what, he took that big 7-year or whatever hiatus. And I tell you what, if you watch him wrestle, he don't look like he's in too much shape. I mean, maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. But it looks like he's tired all the time. And, that's what happens with your body when you're not used to wrestling and he sat around for 7 years or whatever it is he did. And then he tried that MMA stuff and it didn't work. But CM Punk could be a good actor. He has a good voice. He's great with the microphone. We'll see where he is behind the camera. I hear Drew McIntyre is going to be doing a movie with Dave Bautista real soon. So there you go.
Yeah, Dave Bautista, he's definitely, if you look online, he's lost lots of weight. He looks really different. He definitely looks different. So CM Punk as the next actor there. He also, Dave Bautista did this interview, and he says, talks about John Cena and how he couldn't do the John Cena retirement tour. I get along with John. I respect John a lot. a lot more than people think I do for some reason. I think the internet, I think fans have built this rivalry between us, which it really isn't. But this is how we're different. I would never do this retirement tour. I wouldn't. I couldn't. It would feel very disingenuous to me to go around. I just couldn't. But where I see his point, where he wants to go around, where he wants to personally thank all the fans, but there's just something in me where I just couldn't do it. I retired the way I wanted. I didn't want to make a big deal out of it. I announced my retirement on Instagram, and I knew I was going to do it. Batista also explained that he didn't want to tell anybody about retiring because he didn't feel like having to make an appearance on preparing a speech, and expressed that the idea of it all would felt false to him. He does have a certain point, because anytime a wrestler decides to retire, of course, eventually they end up unretiring, a.k.a. Shawn Michaels, a.k.a. Ric Flair. Comes to mind. Hogan throws it out there. I'm going to retire, comes back and does a match. One more match. Everybody wants to see it. Stone Cold retires, comes back and does a match. Brock doesn't necessarily retire, but goes off to Hollywood for years and then comes back and does some matches. So it does. I understand his point.
Undertaker, I'm hearing he's coming back for
I
a match.
mean, I feel like they would absolutely roll the Undertaker out there until the end of time. He's not the same wrestler, but he'll sell. People want to see it. So I definitely get the idea here of what Batista's putting out, but I definitely think John Cena is going to retire. And, it's different strokes for different folks. Batista, to me, didn't really love the wrestling business. Let's just face it. I think he's almost like Goldberg, right? They were there. Yeah. They made the money. They were happy. And then they left, and they're okay with leaving. Don't ask Goldberg. Goldberg still wants to come back. He feels like WWE owes him a retirement match, and he may be right. I think he's seen his better days, but he still wants that match. But those guys, I don't necessarily think love the business like John Cena. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does, because you're right. They don't like the business. Batista got out of it, and then he came back for a match against Triple H. I was at the Raw event when that happened, and so when that match was made, was in Pittsburgh here. But anyway, as I mentioned before, I believe that's the case. Batista, John Cena loves wrestling. I don't think he'll ever retire.
Stand by. We got a call here. What's your name? Where are you calling from? You're on the Evolution.
Hey, this is Derek Manickbuck of the Plunder and Friday Night Heel Turn. How you doing, brother?
What's going on, buddy? I mean, I know you want to talk about some things when it comes to not only the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, but also Turnbuckle talk, which we're talking right now. So you got some wrestling talk here on this segment?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I do, actually. I've got a couple of things to comment about, but one of the things I wanted to say before I did anybody said anything else, to anybody out there that was affected by 9/11, look, I'm praying for you, because that was a tragedy, and everybody should be thinking about those people today.
We did not address that, and I was going to, but yes, 9/11 is today. I did not forget, and if you want to share some memories of where you were 23 years ago when 9/11 happened, you're more than welcome to do that. With that being said, go ahead.
I will definitely do that. It was a real short story. I was at my mom's house. We were sitting, the TV's to my right, up above the fireplace. She's to my left. We're drinking coffee. It's early in the morning. She had it on the Today Show like she always did. And we had just literally come to an end of our, portion of our conversation. So we broke, and when we broke, we turned towards the TV, and no sooner than 5 seconds later, we literally live watched the plane go into the second tower. It was unbelievable.
Damn.
My mom dropped her coffee. She didn't leave the house for days. It was an insane thing. I mean, if I'm a patriot through and through before anything when it comes to being American.
Sure.
And I am still heart riddled by those things. I get emotional thinking about it or talking real deep about it, but God bless everybody that was affected, and God bless America.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Ralph, you want to say something?
Yeah, I could tell you what I was doing. I used to drive a cab, and I was sitting at the airport lot at Pittsburgh International Airport when this happened. And you should have seen the people running out to get cabs because they couldn't get their flights. I had 4 guys. I took them to a hotel nearby the airport, and it was $20 on the meter. And they each gave me a $50 bill, and they thanked me because they were having trouble getting a cab. and it was just a scramble to get out. And I lost my house because of 9/11. I didn't make any money because the airports were shut down, and a lot of people were scared, didn't spend any money, and I ended up losing my house over it. But that's my 9/11 story.
All right. And my 9/11 story is I was home for some reason. I believe my work got shut down because they were doing some bad things. So they got shut down, and I was at home and saw this on TV with my mother and could not believe what was going on at that point. I thought it was a nightmare. And I remember just watching all day long the coverage of it and just praying and hoping that, that everything would. Actually, I would think it was off. And then I went to work the next day. I think we were off that day for some reason. It's so weird. And just going to work and just, talking to people about it and saying, hey, we're going to war. We're doing this. We're doing that. But your thoughts and prayers at that point were with the people that died and lost their lives. And sports, as always, is always a thing that, takes your mind off of it. And it brought everybody together at that point. And everybody loved and cared about New York and their people. And that's what I definitely remember about the whole situation. All right, Derek, go ahead.
All right.
Yes.
All right, back at it. Now, touch on one of the first things that y'all started talking about when y'all moved over to the Turnbuckle Talk. I'm an insatiable fan of WWE.
Okay.
I have mixed reviews on the 2-hour show. I totally understand the logic behind, what you guys were talking about. When you spend 3 hours, which used to be everybody to watch wrestling long enough, that's the length of a pay-per-view back in the day.
Mm-hmm.
And now I can totally understand the saturation of the promos. Now, one of my favorite things about wrestling is the storylines. That's part of the reason why I can't dive into AEW. I can watch two great performers in the ring, but it does nothing from me from week to week.
Right.
So to speak. But I don't think it would be a bad thing. Obviously, I'm an American, so we want more, so
sure.
From that perspective,
of course, we all want more.
I enjoyed the 3 hours.
Right.
Not to mention, I'm typically up till midnight anyways. So I'm not falling asleep during the show anyways, but I think it will help I think it will also help with the storylines because it makes them not only, you don't describe it as much, but you're partaking in the storyline more so than being in the ring trying to build momentum or build an agenda in a storyline.
Okay. Makes sense.
So as far as that goes, I've got mixed reviews, but I'm not opposed to it.
Yeah.
Now, CM Punk, mind you, it wasn't a big stint, and I don't know if he's done it anywhere else. He's actually played a pretty decent role in the Sons of Anarchy sequel to the Mayans.
I didn't know he was in that. I also thought he was in a series called Heels. Is that what it was called?
Yes. I saw him in that one. But in Mayans, he played one of the bikers' girlfriend's husbands, and he was the biker was real close to him. But CM Punk was like an alcoholic.
Stand by, Derek. Hold on a sec, Curtis. We got Derek on the line. Stand by. Hold the line. We'll get out to you after we finish up with Derek. Okay.
See.
All right, stand by. Yes, C, senor. All right, let me go back out to Derek here. Derek, go ahead and finish up, man.
But yeah, the show was it was pretty good. But I mean, it didn't have a huge part, but it was a moderate part in it. He played a really good. I think he would really be a good actor. As far as Dave Bautista, I think Dave Bautista has actually rejuvenated himself with being in acting. I was very disappointed at the way he left wrestling. I'm not a big fan of the retirement tour, like you were talking. You said about Cena, but I also respect that each person has the ability to do it on their terms, and I respect that. This is what they want to do. And for Cena, that was his whole career. The fans. He was a wrestler because he had a passion for it, but without the fans, he would have never had a passion. I believe that.
True. So, no, absolutely. And I know he's a fan favorite, and I know WWE tried to shove him down all of our throats, and most likely you should have went heel in some of those years, but he didn't. But I definitely think he's going to retire, and he wants to do it right, and he should do it right. Do I think he's the greatest of all time? No, I just think you're living for the moment. I think that a lot of people are living for the moment and forget the past. But was he one of the greats of the era? Yeah, I definitely think he's one of the greats of the era. Absolutely.
Yes. Now to get a little bit of Bucks talk before I get off here and let somebody else come on.
Yes.
Luke Gotteke, with him, here's my thing. I think we saw a lot of good young talent on the offensive line. And if there's no reason to put his butt in the game, I think you sit him. I think, for one, a concussion is nothing to play with.
Definitely not. And I don't. And if he doesn't pass concussion protocol, he's not playing in the game.
He's not playing.
He's not
regardless,
playing,
yes.
which will be a huge loss.
Absolutely, a huge loss for us. Now, the biggest matchup I'm looking for: M1K3 versus CD3.
Yep.
I can't freaking wait.
And
I cannot wait.
Who do you think wins that matchup? Is it Mike Evans who goes for over 100 yards, or do you think Carlton Davis has the upper hand on him?
Standardly to that question, I would look at you and ask, why are you even asking me that question? But because we're on the Peter Blake show, I'm going to give you retort, brother. Honestly, if you follow my page, I've got a reel out. He is him, H-I-M.
So he is the greatest of all time.
Greatest player
of all
that
time
ever played for the Buccaneers, period.
Okay.
I respect a lot of people as far as like some people will say Derek Brooks, a friend of ours that we're in common with, spoke about Derek Brooks.
Yeah.
And the fact that Evans come out and did it year in and year out. If you watch the stuff that said that Kyle Brandt said about him on Good Morning Football, think about it: 7 quarterbacks, 6 coaches, a multitude of systems, good quarterbacks, bad offenses, good offenses. He was still the same guy all the way through. When Kyle Brandt brought all this up, he brought it up about Barber, Lynch. You got Simeon Rice, Warren Sapp, Derek Brooks. They all collectively, now, are each one of them individually wearing a jacket? Yes. Should they? Yes. But they didn't have I don't think the speed bumps per se, for lack of a better way of putting it, that Evans had in order to have that consistency throughout his career. Now, can you, and also not only what he's done in the community, same as Derek Brooks, which is, but before Mike Evans was the greatest Buccaneer of all time. But now, and Derek Brooks was never a money hungry guy. He was never the biggest paid guy, but he was always steady and they took care of him financially. Mike Evans has literally gave the team money to make sure they could put people around him to win.
Correct.
How many years? Countless years.
That
all plays a part in it. Now, for me, I've got it's a sketchy game, but if you take into consideration the players that the LA Rams were down last week and how the Lions had to go to overtime to beat them, I still like our damn chances this weekend.
All right. I like it, man.
I think
give me a score.
23-17.
23-17. All right, we got you down there, Derek.
All right.
Appreciate you. Yes, sir.
I love your show, man. I love your show. Y'all catch Peter Blake all the time. He's worth it. And not to mention, love somebody.
There you go. Love somebody. Absolutely. Great stuff, my friend. Appreciate the call. As always, use that second call if you want to. Curtis, call back if you want to here on Turnbuckle Talk as we're talking Bucs football. We're talking, in fact, I'm going to give him a call back here.
That's going to be a dogfight, Peter.
I'm telling you, it's going to be a dogfight.
Detroit, that's going to be a big-time dogfight.
Yes. Let's go out to Curtis here. Curtis, welcome to Turnbuckle Talk here on a happy
Hump Day
edition.
Man.
Yes.
Listen, I got a couple.
Peter's the only host that calls you back.
Right. Exactly. I'm trying to
call
that's
because nobody's as special as Curtis, baby.
That's right.
That's right.
Curtis is one of my favorite webheads out there. He's definitely
Listen,
one of my
I've
favorites.
been with my boy for about 3-4 years, man. I love this man to death.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
He works harder than anybody I know. I know people with 3 jobs and they can't keep up with this man.
I'm getting called on air by somebody who I gave my card out the other night for Uber. They're like, "Can you give me a ride?" I'm like, "I'm on air right now. I told you." I thought they were calling in to talk.
Now listen, I don't want to take up too much time, but I have a lot to say.
Yes. Okay. Say it,
I have
man.
a lot to say.
Say it.
Number 1, John Cena.
Yes.
This guy has to be the greatest wrestler of all time.
Oh man, come on! Over Hogan, over Flair.
No, listen. Hear me out.
Okay.
Hear me out on this.
I'll hear you out. The Rock, Stone Cold.
I love the Hogan. I love the Rock. I love Stone Cold. I'm a huge Attitude Era guy. You know that.
Triple H, Undertaker.
But let me just say this, Peter.
Shawn Michaels.
Hold on. And you can. The Undertaker is probably one of my favorites of all time. I still put him over the Undertaker, and I'm going to tell you why.
Okay.
The work he did with Make-A-Wish. Alone.
Yeah.
That guy, listen, that guy, he not only was it the fans, but he gave kids dreams. And he made those kids that were going through hell, he gave them probably the biggest smile they've ever had in their life. You can't, bro, you can't judge any. That is life changing for kids, bro.
It is.
That is very life changing. Don't get me wrong. I respect everything everybody else has done.
Sure.
But John Cena has had 500 Make-A-Wishes?
It's pretty amazing. Pretty amazing.
That's a lot, bro.
Yes.
Especially when he was a full-time wrestler. Like John Cena was, you got to remember, for a period of time, this guy was everywhere.
Yeah.
He was everywhere. And then you saw him he was still doing the Make-A-Wishes for these kids. He was going out of his way, doing things for kids. And, he didn't have to do it, but he did it out of the kindness of his heart.
Yeah.
Because guess what? He was just like Bill Goldberg. He wanted to be a superhero for those kids.
Fair enough.
And for me, don't get me wrong, Hogan, Flair, all those guys, as far as in the ring, Cena couldn't touch those guys. But all around, Cena's probably the greatest of all time.
All right. Strong comments by Curtis right there. John Cena, the greatest of all time because of the Make-A-Wish. That's fair point.
That is true. That's a good point he makes there. Thing is, though, Peter, there were some bad matches that he lost. It's just like a bad football game, Yeah.
And then, okay, I'm sorry. He was giving people opportunities at championships like Daniel Bryan. When they didn't want to give Daniel Bryan a championship match, he gave Daniel Bryan a championship match.
That's a good point. And he also had some good rivalries, if you will, with Triple H, with CM Punk, with Edge.
With Randy Orton, Edge.
Nice. Yeah. Yeah. So
I remember when he beat JBL for his first title.
Yep.
Yeah.
I remember his matches with Brock Lesnar. Like, this guy has been in the ring with some people. But besides being in the ring, the work he did for Nickelodeon, for Make-A-Wish, all this stuff this guy did.
All right.
And it's just, I'm like, God, people can hate on John Cena. You can hate him. You don't have to like him.
Right.
I didn't say I hated him. I'm just,
You have to respect what he has done.
I definitely think you have to respect it. Yes, absolutely.
And he came from nothing. He wasn't groomed like Randy Orton or Roman Reigns to be, or Brock Lesnar to be the next big thing. He wasn't groomed for that.
No.
This guy literally came out of nowhere when SmackDown was on Thursday night. And he slapped the shit out of Kurt Angle on Thursday night and said ruthless aggression.
Ruthless aggression. And you're exactly right. He came out of OVW, and that class consisted of not only John Cena, but Batista, Randy Orton, and Brock Lesnar. Can you get a better class than that?
No, absolutely not.
No, you can't. No, you can't.
Nope.
All right. What else, Curtis?
I'm sorry. I gotta talk about the Bucks just for a second.
Yeah, man. Talk about the Bucks.
Dude, I'm praying that this team stays healthy.
Well, it's been tough so far.
Because no, it has. But you know what? I'm going to tell you something. I'd rather get injured early, and as long as they're not long-term injuries, to have our players come back towards the end of the season.
Sure.
Because I'm going to tell you something. All that, Peter, can you give me a fart noise, please?
Yeah. There you go.
All that about the Atlanta Falcons.
Yeah.
That team looks freaking terrible.
That's what they look like. A bum.
For real. And I'm going to tell you something. Kirk Cousins is probably the worst signing ever. Ever.
No, Deshaun Watson was.
Well, yeah, I definitely think Deshaun Watson is in that conversation at this point.
No, and I can give you that, but I'm sorry. How old is Deshaun Watson?
Well, that makes it worse because there was
I think he's coming up on 30, I believe.
He's the expectations of him the last couple of years, getting the highest paid contract for a quarterback in NFL history, and being able to do absolutely nothing.
The problem with the Cleveland Browns has been the problem with the Cleveland Browns since they have came back into the NFL.
Yeah,
they get quarterbacks that don't fit their scheme.
Correct.
That's what Deshaun Watson's problem is.
Correct.
He doesn't fit their scheme at all. Like Jameis would fit their scheme better than theirs.
Yeah.
Way better. I mean, these guys get paid all this money, and I'm not even talking about the players. I mean, if you were a player and somebody told you they were going to pay you $200 and some odd $1 million, and you didn't fit their scheme, oh well, because I'm going to get, and it's all guaranteed.
And make that
you
scheme
signed
fit.
a damn contract too.
Yeah, make that scheme fit. And by the way, you'll stay out of the massage parlor and stay away from the masseuses. That'd be good to do that.
Exactly.
I'd probably do that too.
And that's fine. Now, I don't even like this team, but I'm going to use them as an example. San Francisco.
Yes.
Brock Purdy out of nowhere.
Out of nowhere because he
this guy
Kyle
fit
Shanahan's
their
system.
scheme.
Correct.
Perfect. He fit their scheme.
Yep.
Perfectly.
Yep.
It also helps that he has a lot of great talent around him.
Correct.
But he also fits their scheme.
Absolutely.
And it's just like, I mean, what are you going to do?
Well,
what are you going to do?
Eventually, you're going to either have to get rid of him because there's another allegation out there that the NFL is investigating, and of course, he's denied. So we'll see how that plays out. You cut your losses, or you fire your coach, and you get somebody that's going to help you fit the scheme.
Ken Dorsey is their offensive coordinator this year. Ken Dorsey.
I think I'm going to tell you something.
From Buffalo.
I think Cleveland is going to have to do the same thing Cleveland did. They're going to have to burn it completely down and start from ground zero. And you know what? Right now, what's their coach's name?
Kevin Stefanski.
Yeah.
You know he hates himself right now watching Baker in Tampa.
Of course he does. Of course
he hates it. He's every time he sees Baker throw a touchdown to Mike Evans or Chris Godwin, his stomach is just turning. And it should be. It should be.
Cleveland got so much egg on their face, Curtis. It's unbelievable. Stuff that they've done, and it's just it's unbelievable. So
my other prediction is Atlanta's going to have a better season once they start Penix.
Yeah.
Well,
I agree with you on that.
There's a possibility of that because he's mobile, but again, he's had a history of knee injuries, and I wouldn't put anybody behind that offensive line because they can't block nothing.
Yeah, but I guarantee he's 100% more mobile than Kirk Cousins.
No,
Kirk Cousins is what, 37, 38 years old?
36, I think. 36.
Yeah, something like that.
Like, come on. I mean, listen, let me tell you something. My hat goes off to Kirk Cousins because where he came from, nobody's seen him going to where he's been.
Right.
But this guy has made more money. He reminds me of Sam Bradford. Remember Sam Bradford was getting all that money from all those teams?
Absolutely.
He would never do anything. At all.
Cousins has the greatest agent of all time with all the money he's got, and he's won one playoff game, a total of one playoff game. One is the loneliest number you ever knew. One playoff game by Kirk Cousins.
That's the same thing I tell my coworkers at work. They're all Cowboys fans. I'm like, Dak and Baker have the same amount of playoff wins, right? And they're like, oh man, Baker sucks. I'm like, well, apparently Dak sucks because they got the same amount of wins.
Don't tell Jerry Jones that because he just got a contract extension of $60 million a year. Ridiculous.
That's probably listen. Besides the Deshaun Watson contract, that's probably the worst contract I've ever seen in my life.
They're getting worse and worse.
I mean, other than that Albert Haynesworth contract with Washington. But listen, man, our Bucks look good. I know it's the lonely Washington Redskins, but I tell people all the time, these guys are NFL players for a reason.
Correct.
And they are, what is there? There's 32 teams. There's 53 men per team. I mean, these players are the top players in the world. It doesn't matter if they're on a shitty team. I mean, Carolina sucks too. Terrible. Like they made
Dave Canales should have
Derek
never
Carr
took
look
that
like
job.
he was going to win the MVP this year.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, I feel bad for Dave Canales. Hopefully, he's able to rectify that ship. But that's the Titanic. He just got on
Yes,
the
it is. Yeah, I agree with you on that one, Peter.
It's going to be at least 2 to 3 years.
You couldn't pay me double to do that job.
And I don't even know if he has the quarterback there.
And the Bears are sitting over there shining their shoes.
Yep.
With Carolina Panthers.
Yep, Carolina picks and DJ Moore, and now got Caleb Williams and CJ Stroud looks great. They could have picked him, and you picked Young instead. Great stuff, Curtis. Use that second call if you want to, my friend. Okay, we're gonna finish up here with Turnbuckle Talk. Appreciate you, bro.
Absolutely.
All right, man. Let me go ahead and give him the Macho Man right there.
Yeah.
All right, open phone line 727-255-0391. It's 727-255-0391. It's Turnbuckle Talk. I'm your host, Peter Blake.
You didn't think I could talk the national sports, huh? There, Peter?
I definitely knew you could talk national sports. That's why we got you on here, my friend. You know what you're talking about. All right, let's go out to this. Matt Riddle was talking
that's my man.
to the Takedown, and he was asked about his time with WWE and if he was the cause of it, and he said, I would disagree. Of course, he's fighting Tom Lawler. I don't think there's any. Is he related to Jerry Lawler by chance? Because this guy is an MLW no holds barred Vale Rudo match, whatever the hell that is. He said, I would disagree. I'm always going to be me. It's really hard to tell me how to live my life or how I'm going to do things. I could be my worst enemy when you're working for $1 billion corporation that wants to look cookie cutter and get Disney and every other sponsor to book them. Yeah, I'm definitely my own worst enemy in that sense. But I think in that sense, I'm as valuable as I am because I don't bend on certain things. And I think that's what makes me unique. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm my worst enemy, but I'm just me. Trust me, that's a long time where I wasn't me and I would go through the motions. He also goes on to say, I'm 38 years old. I'm not trying to fake anything or hide anything. Like, I don't want to hide a relationship. I have my girlfriend be all insecure because I won't post her. I just want her to be happy. She makes me happy. Unfortunately, I feel like at times that would upset them or other people. Of course, talking about his girlfriend at the time, he had a wife, but also the girlfriend was, to put it out there, she was a porn star.
Right.
My girlfriend would get death threats and stuff saying that she ruined my life, and I just don't find that acceptable. He goes on to say, I would agree. I would agree. I'm my own worst enemy. I'm also my best friend. I also have my back. I also know what I want deep down in my heart. I have a lot of buddies that still work with WWE. If you knew how they feel and how they act and how they hold back every second, they want to do this, but they can't do that. Trust me, people live and like, and especially when you work somewhere like that, it's all about image. A lot of them just want to paint that picture of perfection, hide anything that might be judged. You know what? I don't blame them. Well, me, I'm my own worst enemy. I'm very transparent. I'm somebody that'll go right on Twitter if somebody talks crap, and I'll literally make a video being like, you're full of it. He's asked about his future with WWE, and he says, the chances of me going back, I think they're extremely high. If CM Punk, who filed a lawsuit against WWE, and they raked them through the mud for a decade and then goes to the competition, and I'll tell you this, if he can do that, everything can be forgiven. I know it wasn't the easiest to work with at times. I think the door is always open. I think the longer I'm away, the harder I work, and the more I do, the more likely I could come back. But I also say this, if I never go back ever again and they never talk to me again, I'll be okay with that. Your thoughts on these comments from Matt Riddle saying, listen, I'm not ashamed of what I do. I'm not ashamed of myself. I'm not ashamed of my girlfriend. I just couldn't be myself in WWE, which he is correct about that. Kind of downs the business, kind of downs that organization. But then he mentions how CM Punk was forgiven for all the stuff and the lawsuits and going to the competition. It's all about business. It's all about who makes you money. Are we going to be surprised if Matt Riddle one of these days, maybe not sooner than later, maybe later, goes back to WWE because he's what's best for business and Triple H?
That could happen, Peter. A lot of these wrestlers now, look at Matt Cardona. He could have came back to the WWE with his wife, Chelsea Green. He chose not to. You know why? Because you can do whatever you want with these other wrestling organizations. AEW doesn't care if you go to independent wrestling. Look at EC3. I got to see him in person. He goes around the country and all around the world and promotes that NWA belt. And Matt Riddle can probably do the same with MLW. Why would I want to go back to the WWE to a controlled structure other than for the money? I mean, yeah, if the money's good, but see, Matt Riddle has to clean up, has to make sure that when he goes back this time, he doesn't act like he did, and he ends up doing better than what he did. And I think he probably could come back. Triple H will bring anybody back that was out of the. I'm hearing stories about Jon Moxley going back, so Triple H will bring him back.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting to see, what happens with the Jon Moxley and that storyline. Of course, I don't know if you watched the latest pay-per-view. I think it was like the 9th pay-per-view of the month or something like that by AEW. Seems like it. How he turned on Bryan Danielson, and they had the Blackpool Club there. Moxley turned on him. Claudio turned on him. I don't know where this storyline is going. I'm interested in it. I'm intrigued by it. It looks like Wheeler didn't know anything about it when he was being held back. What do you make of this storyline with Jon Moxley and AEW? Are you intrigued by it? Are you tired of it already? Would you like some explanation? Because it certainly seems very interesting, very juicy.
Well, Jon Moxley went out, told Tony Schiavone that, oh, well, new management's coming here, and that's Shane McMahon, I believe. And Shane McMahon is in AEW and comes to AEW at some point and starts that faction with Jon Moxley. That's going to be a powerful faction. But Bryan Danielson's at the tail end of his career. He's got that neck injury again, Peter. And I don't think he's going to wrestle much longer. I really don't. I don't care what he thinks he can try to do or whatever. You're in your 40s, coming up on 50 years old or whatever. Your body is way different than what it was when you were younger. And, he sacrifices himself and his body for the company and to keep his belt. But I'm not sure how much longer he can do this.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be interesting to see how long, and not only they do this storyline, but also, how you put your body through all this this physicality. And I don't know if you saw the Swerve match with.
Yes, I did. Yeah, I saw some of it. Yeah.
That was amazing. Swerve versus Hangman Page, and of course Page in that storyline actually burns up Swerve's house. So there's an emotional connect there with some people, and then you're stapling pictures, and it's just crazy. Like AEW is like the answer to ECW, right?
Yes, exactly. They are. Yeah, they're trying to be like that. Sandman made an appearance in Memphis Wrestling, and he's been touring around with the independent division as well around here in Western Pennsylvania. So, I mean, but like I said, a lot of these guys, Tommy Dreamer now is touring around the country. He's doing different things now. So, I mean, guys are, they're going to do what they're going to do. ECW, AEW is trying to become like an ECW a little bit, but there's nothing like ECW ever. The original, no way.
Never. They'll never have another ECW the way it was. Cutting edge, Paul Heyman.
Yes, exactly.
Tommy Dreamer and the Sandman and Raven and Taz and
Mick Foley.
Yeah,
Terry Funk.
Foley, Terry
Funk. A lot of them guys. Steve Austin started there, Stone Cold.
As the ringmaster. He actually did his first, and there's a story about that where Paul Heyman says, just be yourself, and did a storyline and took it and went over to WWE, and the rest is history there with becoming Stone Cold. Who's the other guy? Sabu. Sabu's another one. Yeah, you had damn, I'm trying to think of the tag team at that point. Used to come out to Natural Born Killers. What was
well, you got Bully Ray, and then you got Devon Dudley. They were there too.
Dudley Boys, absolutely.
Yeah.
And then you also
I can't think of the rest of them. Some of them.
New Jack. New Jack.
Shane Douglas from Pittsburgh here. Shane Douglas.
The franchise, and Francine. And then you also had New Jack and Mustafa with Natural Born Killers. He used to come out there and jump through table. It was just a wild time. Nothing.
A lot of those guys made their career with ECW there, and they'll never make it again because nobody else will do it like that.
Well, you won't do it like that because there's too many safety regulations. There's too many, there's too many things that could happen with concussions and CTE and lawsuits and everything else. And then on top of it, WWE kind of killed it. They tried to water it down.
Oh, that was terrible. That when Vince McMahon bought it, it was.
And he made him.
Hey, Bobby Lashley was ECW champion.
And that's the other thing. There was a story out there. We'll end off with that. Bobby Lashley, MVP, and Shelton Benjamin are in talks with AEW, and there could be some type of Hurt Business faction. Is that smart on AEW's part there to do that?
Yeah, it is. They need to get some factions going. The only other one that really is going right now is the House of Black, and they're not that much. They're not relevant. The BCC kind of broke up, and now you have Chris Jericho with his learning tree, and so you got the Gangbang Man or whatever that that group is there, and then you got so yeah. I think the Hurt Business will do good because if you got the followers from the WWE that like the Hurt Business, Bobby Lashley, I like Bobby Lashley, and I think the Hurt Business would be great. Just get Cedric Alexander over there and a few others. I think you'll be okay.
Yeah, it'll definitely be interesting with them being in talks with all those wrestlers and trying to put that faction back together.
That could be Shane McMahon, doing that.
Could be.
He's got connections. He can bring the wrestlers there.
He can. He definitely has a working relationship with them. Ralph, thanks a lot for your time here on Turnbuckle Talk, my friend. All right.
All right. Anytime. Don't forget October 5, Saturday, October 5th, the debut of the return of Sports Corner Radio Show on 1250 AM and 92.5 FM. The Answer. Me, Smoking Jim Frazier, Claudio Rosano. It's going to be a great show, debut show, and then we're going to be on every Saturday after that. Tune in to The Answer for the return of the Sports Corner Radio Show.
Congratulations on that. Looking forward to hearing that, my friend. And we'll see you next time and next week here on the Sports Web. All right.
All right. And then on October 8th, Wrestle Talk segment, a part of the Sports Corner Show on Tuesdays, goes 1 hour.
Nice. All right. There you go.
I've been interviewing independent wrestlers. So
good stuff. Good stuff, Rob. Appreciate the time.
Have a great one. Thank you. As always, Peter. See you next week. Oh, by the way, I survived the fire in my apartment building here. So,
well, good. You survived the fire.
Somebody was cooking meth, and I was stuck up here in my apartment. Firefighters had to come up and get me because I'm handicapped in a wheelchair. I can't get down the elevator. So, but they were able to contain the fire, and I was able to stay in my apartment. My wife and my dog and whatnot. My mom all went outside, or they were able. The firefighters were able to get them out there. So,
God bless you, my friend. God bless you.
Thank you. Yeah. It's been a tough week. My mind's just been there, and then I had a rough vacation up in Erie at a hotel that disrespected me as a handicapped person and pulled some stunts, and we had to cut it early. So it's been a rough couple of weeks. The month of August and whatnot,
Well, you killed it here on the Evolution of Sports Talk Television.
Thank you. Have a great one, Peter. Thank you, as always. I'll see you next week.
Next week, my friend. Good stuff there. Thanks a lot to all the guests for the night. Mr. Leo Haggerty, the legend himself, former Coach Scout and now media member of Night Sports Productions and Amped Up Sports. Thanks to Jason Powers on Sports Podcast, Spectrum Sports 360, Ryan Neal, the newest analyst of Amped Up Sports. And of course, as always, the bodyguard of the Berg, Mr. Ralph Williams, and all your calls, all your comments. Once again, you guys are the lifeblood of what makes this work as we get you ready for Bucks versus the Lions. Like and subscribe to the Sports Web on YouTube. Give to YouTube Super Chats if you like the content. Like and subscribe to all the podcasts that are on there. Well, somebody doesn't want me to leave, so I guess I will cut off the finality of this and go out to this guy right here.
Damn it, Jim, what the hell's the matter with you?
Jim, welcome to the Sports Web. What's on your mind tonight, boss?
Hey, how you doing?
I'm doing good, buddy. How you doing?
I kind of missed some of your show because I had a long day. I forgot.
Well, hey man, this is the here for the long day at work. I know because I've had a long day at work, but I'm here for you, my friend. What's on your mind?
Oh man, I was Tampa ready for this game. I got the Tampa Bay defense. They said they ain't getting no points because we had some injuries.
Yeah, Antoine. It's going to be tough. I think it's going to be a high-scoring affair, most likely back and forth with Antoine Winfield Jr. missing possibly 2 to 3 corners, including Zion McCollum being out of this game. The injury that I'm really concerned about, if that wasn't enough, is Luke Gedeke on concussion protocol. He's your right tackle, and he's the guy that's going to be facing or matched up versus Aiden Hutchinson. So he's not going to be there possibly. Hopefully he is. Hopefully he can pass concussion protocol. That's the big-time injury I'm worried about. But, yeah, this team is beat up. And also the Lions are also beat up with Penei Sewell missing some time. So we'll keep you abreast of that situation. But injuries happen in the National Football League. Guys got to step up, and we'll see if this Bucs team can step up. But their offense overall, I definitely think they can score with any team in the league. What do you say?
Oh, yeah. Or is it going to be in Tampa or is it going to be in?
Oh, it's in Detroit. It's back to the scene of the crime. Yep, back to the scene of the crime, my friend. Yes, sir.
So you going to make your way out there?
No, I'm going to be here. I'm going to be covering the game for, of course, Amped Up Sports and the Sports Web and the JP Peterson Show. But I will be here in Holiday giving you some type of post-game show. Maybe we'll give you a pre-show. Most likely it's going to be a post. And we'll take your calls and recap, hopefully, a Bucs victory over the Lions on Sunday. That's what we're going to do. So we're staying in town.
Yeah, hopefully we get victory Monday. All right, I'll keep in touch with you guys. I was wondering about that. And for wrestling, man, is there any big guys that's good anymore?
Well, yeah, there's plenty of big guys that are good right now. You got CM Punk, that's good. You got Drew McIntyre, that's pretty good. You got Roman Reigns. You got Cody Rhodes. The Rock could be coming back here. I mean, there's a lot of good things going on in the wrestling world that you need to pay attention to. And they're going 2 hours until they go to Netflix in 2025. So what do you think about that? Wrestling for 2 hours instead of 3. Can you catch wrestling for 2 hours?
Yeah, I can.
Okay. Well, you got to keep on. You got to do that. And then you call Turnbuckle Talk and you talk wrestling with me. Okay.
Yeah, maybe you're expert. Like you said, it won't be as much talking.
There you go. Not as much storylines, more wrestling. I get it. Jim, great call as always. Anything else?
No, I'll let you get off of here. Have a great show.
Thank you.
I'll catch all of it next time.
Yeah, well, you can catch the replay. And again, you can like and subscribe to the Sports Web on YouTube. You can friend me on Facebook at Peter H. Blake. We're already friends. And also, there's a new podcast option where you can go to Apple Podcast, Spotify, and Amazon, where you can hear all these podcasts. So if you don't want to look at my face for radio, as some people would say, you can listen.
All right. Thank you.
All right, good stuff. Yeah, I got to throw myself underneath the bus as many times as I can to promote the podcast. That's what we do. Spotify, Amazon, Apple Music, wherever you had your podcast at, go to this right here, the sportsweb.live, for all the content in case you want to see any replays of this show. Once again, friend me on Facebook at Peter H. Blake. Inbox me if you want to. My number's out there for Uber rides. Obviously, you know that I do that on the side if you want something along those lines, if you want to ride with the Rolex Reporter. But we say 3 things on this show. You know them, you love them, you got to have them. So here it is. Bring your passion, bring your excitement. Just don't bring any nonsense. I'm your host, Peter Blake, your Rolex Reporter. What time is it? It's my time. And for fans of the Sports Web and the Tampa Bay sports fan, especially Go Bucs fans, it's your time. We'll see you next time on the evolution of Sports Talk Television. Guys, have a good night, and we'll see you soon here covering your Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And as always, Go Bucs.